So good evening everyone. So yesterday we began with the methods, right? That is, what are the goals of the extremists, what are the methods of the extremists. So in the method we discussed the passive resistance, that is non-cooperation and civil disobedience, right? Apart from this, there is another element of the method, and that element, it is called constructive work, right? So what is this constructive work? Constructive work is very simple to understand, right? And UPSC also asked a question in last mains regarding constructive work activities of Mahatma Gandhi. ठीक है, luckily हम क्लास में अच्छी तरीके से कवर करते हैं इसको because ये बहुत important है, right? So when you discuss constructive work is nothing but it is like a political activity, right? It is described as a political activity. What do you mean by apolitical activity? It is NGO-like activity, right? Simply to remember it, you simply remember it is NGO-like activity, right? That means this activity, it can be done even when there is no active movement which is in operation, right? And therefore this acts like a preparatory activity. In this NGO-like activity, what do? You go to the samaj, social work karte ho aap NGO-like activity mein. So therefore you go to the people, and with respect to the social work, for example, you see that the people, they are in poverty. So therefore what do? You can first you organize the people, right? You want to do some kind of social activity, the first thing that you will be doing will be you will be mobilizing the people, you will be organizing the people. Just for example, all of you are BPL people, ठीक? And I am doing constructive work, so I have organized you here, right? That is the way to do, right? So second component is to mobilize community. You mobilize community or organize the community, right? You organize the people. See? Now once you are together, so therefore we'll be doing social work, right? So what is your number one concern? Your number one concern is that you are in poverty, right? So with respect to that, what can be the solution which I can provide? I can do some kind of skill development. There was a time when the handicraft sector was good. You guys used to make some cotton sarees or some cotton cloth or some other handicraft product and used to earn your livelihood. Now the Britishers have come and their machine manufactured goods, they have destroyed your handicraft sector, right? So therefore what I can do is, I can do some skill development, right? Skilling, right? You do not have machines, but fine, the skills that you have lost, maybe that can be again given to you, and I can try to find out some market for your products, right? So next component that comes into operation is skilling, right? Skilling. You are very low on morale, right? Your skill, if I do skilling and if you are able to sell some of your products, your confidence will also be rising, right? So therefore this skill development, it leads to some kind of Atma Shakti, that is self-confidence will increase. Because of the skill development, your self-confidence will increase. And Atma Shakti, it increases not just only of the individual but also of the community, right? वो आएंगे उसके ऊपर, right? So skill development. Now the point is, I do skill development, right? That means you are manufacturing the products. For example, let's say you manufacture khadi or you manufacture any handicraft product, but the community is still going ahead and buying the British manufactured products. So therefore I need to also create somehow a market for you. And how to create that market? So therefore I'll be promoting through lectures and through other things, we'll be promoting Swadeshi products so that people buy your products also, right? So therefore another component that comes into operation is promoting Swadeshi, right? Promoting Swadeshi, for example, promoting Swadeshi goods, right? So that is the thing which I can do with respect to first I mobilize the people, then I skill them, right, because they are under poverty, right, so I train them. कुछ जैसे जैसे अब आपने अपने गांव में बाई चांस अगर देखा हो तो, बट मैंने अपने पेरेंट्स की जनरेशन में देखा है दैट फॉर एग्जांपल स्कूल वगैरह में स्किलिंग इन द सॉन्ग, फॉर एग्जांपल सिलाई की, बुनाई की, ये सब क्लासेस होती थी मम्मी की, पेरेंट्स की, होम साइंस वगैरह इस प्रकार से, राइट. सो एनीवेज दिस काइंड ऑफ, राइट, जैसे मेरी नानी जी है वो सारा का सारा पूरा मतलब मशीन पे ही सब कुछ बना दे, सबके कपड़े बना देंगे वो, ठीक है, मतलब वेरी हाईली स्किल्ड, राइट. तो ऐसा, तो anyways something like skill, so therefore we need to promote the swadeshi goods also, so the people buy those products, right. So that is one of the element. Second component that comes into operation is that right now your confidence is also very low because you do not have any access to health, right, you do not have any access to health, you do not have any access to education, right. Why do you not have any access to education? Because the education is expensive. The British education, it was not free, right. So therefore what we can do, we can organize some free classes for you and your children, right, and therefore we can boost your psychological confidence. We can boost your psychological confidence with the help of education. Now what should be the content of this education? The content of this education should be such that apart from giving you some skills, apart from giving you some knowledge, it also increases your confidence, right. That means it has to be something which promotes India, which gives you confidence regarding who you are as a person. The Britishers, they say that Indians, they are inferior, right. That is the kind of education system which is there. So therefore promotion of Swadeshi education or national education, promoting Swadeshi or national education. And this Swadeshi or national education, it will be opposite of the British education. It will promote the idea of India. It will raise your confidence. It will also give you Atma Shakti, right. It will make you a proud Indian. It will make you proud of your heritage, right. So therefore this will also lead to Atma Shakti, as it removes inferiority complex. It removes inferiority, right. It also leads to cultural nationalism. Cultural nationalism, that is, you are proud to be an Indian, right. I come from a great country, I come from a great nation. That is cultural nationalism. Like Swami Vivekananda, he was called spiritual father of Indian national movement. Mane ki cultural nationalism. He challenged the British at civilization level. He said the Indian civilization is a great civilization. Indian masculinity is even better than Western masculinity. What was all of that? That was cultural nationalism. Pride in your culture, pride in your Vedas, pride in your everything. So therefore, cultural nationalism also is promoted through this Swadeshi education, or in general as a separate point we can also write down, promote cultural nationalism, as it also leads to Atma Shakti. Atma Shakti means you are, पता ही है तुम्हें, cultural nationalism. In a way to remember, this is, for example, Atmanirbharta. Atma Shakti is related to Atmanirbharta, pride in oneself, confidence in oneself. So Atmanirbhar Bharat is also based on constructive work activity of the Indian national movement only, right. When you do skill development, Atmanirbhar. Make in India, Swadeshi goods. Make in India is nothing but promotion of Swadeshi goods. So therefore you see in the current affairs also, you see this Atma Shakti in operation, you see this constructive work in operation even today, right. Just that now the government is also promoting this kind of constructive work, this kind of scenario, right. To many of the government of India schemes, the self-help groups, etc., they do exactly these things that we are writing it down. Many of the NGOs, they do exactly these things, right. So therefore promote the cultural nationalism. Take. Apart from this, you also promote what you call as community unity. Why? Because alone you are not good enough. But if you, for example, another way of increasing financial Atma Shakti, right. So for example, skill development हो गया. तब एक और एक आपको example दूं. For example, अभी लिख लेते हैं. Promote community unity. And focus on community action. Today you can see this in many of the self-help groups. Today you can see this in the cooperative societies. For example, your house needs to be repaired. Alone you do not have money to repair it. You cannot hire labor. But we are a community. We are all poor people in this village. So fine, we will do Shramdan. We will all come together and we'll try to repair your house. Right? So therefore, as a community, don't we feel Atma Shakti? So this is also what? This is nothing but community Atma Shakti. It leads to what? It leads to Atma Shakti, but not at individual level, at a community level. So Atma Shakti aapko badhana hai, not just of an individual, but as a community we feel more confident that fine, we do not have money to hire labor, but see, we can, by helping each others out, right, we can, for example, in the first month we can make your home. In the second month we can help you, erect some walls in your home. In third month maybe we can help you repair your kitchen. Right? In the fourth month we can help you repair your drainage. Right? So therefore, through the community action, you are getting community Atma Shakti. Money is required, for example. Fine, all of us will contribute 5 rupees, and therefore we'll be able to give you a loan of 500 rupees. We'll be able to help you in your beti ki shadi. Something like this. Community Atma Shakti. Cooperative movement is nothing but this only. Cooperative banks ka to idea yahi tha that thousands of people, they'll come together, they'll pull in small amount of money, and then loans can be given out by the cooperative bank to the person who is needy in the community. Right, this kind of scenario. आज के टाइम पे कमेटीज डालते हैं बहुत सारे पेरेंट्स. Right, that is nothing but इसी का एक kind of version. Right, so therefore you promote community unity and you focus on community action. But imagine that you are from upper caste and you are from lower caste and you are not ready to talk to each other. Then will the upper caste come and repair the house of lower caste? Will the lower caste go and repair the houses of upper caste? Maybe not. Right, so therefore you have to work on community unity. And therefore you work against anti-untouchability. You try to bridge the caste divides. Right? You are Hindus, you are Muslims. Right? There is some kind of friction which is there. So therefore, if the community is not united, how there can be Atma Shakti in the community? How can the community feel one? Community will not be able to act together. Community action. Community साथ में काम नहीं कर पाएगी. Right? So therefore, you have to work on community unity. And therefore, element of these community unity. So, for example, similarly, women empowerment, right? So, for example, genders, like there is Hindu Muslim, like there is upper caste, lower caste, similarly there is men and women. They also have many differences. They are also two segments of the community, right? So therefore, NGO like activity, social work like activity में आप यही सब काम करते हो, उससे होता क्या है कि आपकी जो community है उसके अंदर unity आती है. ठीक? An NGO working for Hindu Muslim unity, an NGO working for women empowerment, right? Trying to raise awareness about women issues. An NGO working for upliftment of scheduled tribes, upliftment of scheduled caste, यही सब काम होता है ना, right? So therefore, यहाँ पे, for example, anti-untouchability आ जाएगा. हिंदू मुस्लिम यूनिटी आ जाएगा. विमेन एम्पावरमेंट भी आ जाएगा. Right? This kind of scenario will be coming. Right? So therefore, this is your constructive work. What is the benefit of this constructive work? When you are promoting the cultural nationalism, when you are promoting the confidence in the people by telling them that you are Indian. So fine, directly you are not saying that Angrezo Bharat Chodo. Directly you are not saying Britishers go back. But you are creating the foundations for the people to say this in future. If you'll be a proud Indian, only then tomorrow you can oppose Simon Commission. If you're a proud Indian, only then you would have the confidence to oppose the partition of Bengal in October 1905. First, you have to be a proud Indian. If that is not there, to aur kuch nahi. Then you are mentally a slave. How to remove your mental slavery? How to get rid of your inferiority complex? By focusing on Swadeshi education, by focusing on cultural nationalism. That is why for Aurobindo, this was the most important and the number one thing that was required among the Indians to raise their confidence that they can fight against the British. Right? So therefore you see, hai to a political activity, it is NGO like activity, but that does not mean it has no link with the future political action. Only if you will be having Atma Shakti, tabhi aapke andar ek confidence hoga that too we can oppose the Britishers. Second component, if through this NGO like activity upper caste and lower caste are more united, men and women are more united, men promote action by women, Hindus and Muslims are more united, then tomorrow when a call is given by me, the NGO worker, in my political avatar, that we are starting a Swadeshi movement. So therefore you see, दो चीजें होंगी. Because of my constructive work, I have a bond with you guys. Because of my constructive work, I have a bond with you guys. And therefore, when I give you a call for boycott, when I give you a call for anti-British movement, you guys will be more than willing to join me. Why? Because I have established my bonds with you when no political activity was there. Through this constructive work, मेरे आपके साथ एक संबंध बने हैं. Right? So therefore, that is what is there. Second component that comes into operation is that because we have worked for community unity, then upper caste and lower caste will be together in fight against the British. Hindus and Muslims can be together in fight against the British. Right? So therefore, this community unity will later on come very handy because it will lead to political unity against the Britishers. Right? Another thing that can be done is you can promote Indian National Congress. Fine, you are doing, Saathi Haath Badhana and all of these, songs are going on. We are doing on community education, community health, etc., etc. Arbitration, एक और चीज इसमें आता है. आपके कुछ disputes हैं, right? But you do not have the money to hire a lawyer. Fine, we can set up arbitration courts. That is also another form of Atma Shakti. Why should we be dependent on the Britishers, which requires money? We can do arbitration courts. पंचायत अपनी एक बिठा लेते हैं, issue resolve कर लेते हैं, right? So therefore, I will organize this, or I can act like a judge. And because you guys have faith in me, so without paying the court fees, we can go ahead and we can have this kind of scenario. So therefore, for example, setting up arbitration courts, Swadeshi courts, arbitration or Swadeshi courts. Right? Swadeshi schools, Swadeshi courts, all of these things, that is also the element. Right? We can also promote Indian National Congress. I can also tell you that please, you should become a member of the INC. Why don't you become a member of INC? So see, constructive work can also act as a recruitment ground for INC. INC people, they can do social work. And while doing the social work, they can tell the community कि यार तुम INC क्यों नहीं join करते? Why don't you join INC? I can educate you also कि what is INC, करता क्या है INC? I'm not asking you to break any law. मैं तो बस आपको educate कर रहा हूँ. What is INC? What is Swaraj? All of these things, right? So therefore, education can be on nationalistic education, and you can also. अब इसमें जगह कम रहेगी, but यहाँ पे आप ऐसा लिख सकते हैं. You can also promote Indian National Congress. You can promote INC, and you can promote INM also. Tell the people what is Swaraj. बस बता रहे हो आप क्या हो गया इसमें. ठीक ना कि why Swaraj should be there. ना क्या है, क्या चल क्या रहा है. Right. So therefore, this is your constructive work. Right. So it acts as a recruitment tool for INC. It acts as work for the party cadre in the passive phase जब कोई काम नहीं चल रहा है. It allows the party to get in touch with the people. Right. उस प्रकार से. Right. So ऐसा. In fact, this constructive work can be a very good, thing, and it is deployed also by the party which is in power, and also by the party which is not in power. How to stay in touch with the common man? सिर्फ धरना प्रदर्शन करके, or another way is this: you are a party in opposition, but fine, through constructive work you are trying to build your support base for the next election, which will happen after 5 years. Right? You are organizing the community. Government also does constructive work. जितने भी self help groups हैं, right? ये सब यही काम करते हैं. Right? तो this is the meaning of this is constructive work. बना लिया? ठीक? Right? So ये है constructive work. This was also the thing that I used to follow. Why? Because they are focusing on masses, whereas moderates, they do not focus upon masses. Now write down heading Swadeshi movement. Swadeshi movement in brackets 1905-11. तो हमने डिक्शनरी बना ली है. हमें पता है कि एक्सट्रीमिस्ट का गोल क्या है. उनका गोल है माइनॉरिटी ऑफ देम दे वांट पूर्ण स्वराज, लाइक औरोबिंदो घोष एंड बिपिन चंद्रपाल. मेजॉरिटी ऑफ देम दे वांट स्वराज, विच मीन्स स्वराज विद इन द ब्रिटिश राज, विच मीन्स स्वराज विद इन द ब्रिटिश राज. ठीक, that is not full independence. Foreign affairs and defense, they can be there with the Britishers, but otherwise in the domestic affairs we want all the powers with the Indians. ठीक, स्वराज की फॉर्म याद है ना, नहीं याद, जब डिस्कस किया था लिमिटेड सेल्फ गवर्नमेंट, राइट, वेर यू वांट ओनली पार्टनरशिप फॉर इंडियंस इन द रूलिंग, इन द गवर्नमेंट, right, in the legislature, in the executive, in the judiciary, bureaucracy, etc. Swaraj, that means self-government but within British Empire. Within Swaraj there is a continuum. The maximum amount of self-government that you can get without leaving the British Empire is called dominion status. In the dominion status, defense and foreign affairs, they will be with the Britishers, but all other subjects, they will be with Indians. They will be with Indians. Right, but that is the maximum. There can be such a scenario where not just defense, foreign affairs, but maybe some 2-3 other subjects, they are also there with the Britishers, but rest are with Indians. Still it will be Swaraj, but not dominion status, something short of dominion status. After this comes Poon Swaraj, where we gain sovereignty, where we became fully independent in every way, total breaking of ties. We come out of the British Empire. And then there was Mahatma Gandhi's Swaraj, which meant enlightened anarchism. That is, each individual can do anything and everything that he wants to do. And there should not be any law. There should not be any law enforcement agency. There should not be any courts, no military, no police, no bureaucracy. It is the morality which is there in the religion, the good ethics which are there in the religion. They should guide the behavior instead of fear of law guiding a person's behavior. That is Mahatma Gandhi's Swaraj, कि एक इंडिविजुअल टोटली आजाद है, जो उसको बाउंड क्या कर रहा है, उसके खुद के एथिक्स, हिज ओन मोरालिटी. सो महात्मा गांधी वांटेड अ स्टेटलेस सोसाइटी, राइट, याद आया कुछ, राइट. सो देयरफॉर तो ये है, तो वी नो द मेथड्स. नॉन कॉपरेशन, राइट, दैट इज विदाउट ब्रेकिंग द लॉ, यू आर ट्राइंग टू हर्ट द ब्रिटिशर्स. हाउ डू यू डू दैट? बाय बॉयकॉटिंग द ब्रिटिश इंस्टीट्यूशंस. British institutions, they are in the form of education institution, courts, bureaucracy, military, judiciary, right, councils. I will not go and vote, or I will not stand in the elections, boycott the elections. Boycott of British goods to hurt them economically, that we will not purchase British products. We will purchase made in India products, even if they are expensive, even if they are lower in quality compared to the British products. Right, so therefore that is boycott, and automatically when you do boycott, you promote Swadeshi. Why? Because institutions are required, education is required, products are required. So if you will not be buying the British products, then you will be buying the Indian products. So automatically you will be promoting Swadeshi. You will not be sending your children to British schools. You will be sending your children to schools which are giving national education, that is Swadeshi education. Right. So therefore boycott and Swadeshi, they are two sides of the same coin. And non cooperation का सबसे बड़ा जो टूल बनता है वही. अच्छा, एक और, ठीक, फॉर एग्जाम्पल आई एम टेलिंग यू कि भाई यू नो सुई धागा सिखा रहा हूं तुमको मैं, ठीक है, लेट्स से स्किल डेवलपमेंट में, ठीक, मैंने कहा पकड़ो सुई, तुमने पकड़ी सुई, ठीक, मैं कहा धागा, कह ले धागा, ये आ गया धागा, ठीक, ये धागा, ठीक, मैं कहा मैं धागे सुई में डालो, तुम कह रहे सवेरे बुलाया मैं तुमको 6 बजे, ठीक है. इसमें आत्मशक्ति के लिए एक और चीज क्या करेंगे, एक और चीज आएगा आत्मशक्ति के लिए जो सबसे ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है, जो हमने सेल्फ कॉन्फिडेंस कहा. ठीक, ये तो फाइनेंशियल सेल्फ कॉन्फिडेंस है, स्किल वाला सेल्फ. मेंटल सेल्फ कॉन्फिडेंस एक तो नेशनल एजुकेशन से आएगा, और दूसरा मेंटल सेल्फ कॉन्फिडेंस किससे आता है? मेडिटेशन से, स्पिरिचुअलिज्म से. सो देयरफॉर प्रमोशन ऑफ स्पिरिचुअलिज्म इज ऑल्सो एन एलिमेंट. promote spiritualism is also an element, right? And इसमें if there is menace of liquor, और अरबिंदो घोष ने कहा था that until recently माने बहुत ज्यादा दिनों की बात नहीं है, until a couple of decades, prostitution and abuse of liquor, these things were totally absent in the common Bengali man. In the common Bengali life, these things, they were not present. Right? But look at these Britishers, they have promoted liquor like anything, and this kind of, things are taking place. Right? So therefore, anti-liquor campaign, भी महात्मा गांधी की मोनोपोली नहीं है. इवन बिफोर महात्मा गांधी, द एक्सट्रीमिस्ट दे ऑल्सो फोकस्ड ऑन एंटी लिकर कैंपेन. Why? Because if you are wasting all of your money on liquor, if you're not in the right senses, तो काहे की आत्मशक्ति? What kind of nothing will take place among all of them कि अगर आप दारू के नशे में चूर बैठे हो. No psychological, you will continue to be in psychological inferiority. You will continue. कोई स्किलिंग, क्या स्किलिंग हो पाएगी? Whatever money that you are able to gather, ठीक, you will not be spending on your family. You will be spending it on liquor. Your community, you cannot merge into community. 24 घंटे दारू पिए पड़े हो, 4 बोतल वोट का काम तुम्हारा रोज का, ठीक. सो देयरफॉर कैसे हो पाएगा? सो देयरफॉर एंटी लिकर एंड दिस थिंग इज आल्सो एन एलिमेंट ऑफ कंस्ट्रक्टिव वर्क, ठीक. सो देयरफॉर नाउ वी नो दैट सिविल डिसोबीडियंस, दैट इज ब्रेकिंग ऑफ द अनजस्ट लॉज, right? So we know the methods of the extremists, we know the goals of the extremists. They believe in mass action, they believe in community action, right? Community action is of two types. During the political movement, you will do non-cooperation and civil disobedience, and when political movement is not there, you will be supporting the constructive work, right? So therefore, इस प्रकार से, right? स्वदेशी movement 1905-11, स्वदेशी movement 1905-11. Right? So some things are there. This is the most important movement, and when we do this movement, we'll do it in detail, and we'll come to know the structure of all future movements. We'll come to know the structure of all future movements, right? So first of all, this Swadeshi movement, what was the goal of this Swadeshi movement? The goal of this Swadeshi movement was not to end the partition of Bengal. The goal of this Swadeshi movement was Swaraj. Swaraj within the British Empire. Therefore, this Swadeshi movement was not just limited to Bengal. It was for whole of India. It was intended for whole of India. Swaraj cannot be just for Bengal. It has to be for whole of India, right? So that is one of the element. Apart from this, ये movement start कैसे हुई? तो movement started because some anger was developing, right? So if you talk about the reasons of this particular movement, right? So one reason that comes into operation was Curzonian administration. Curzon was there 9905, 1899 to 1905. And Curzon, he had taken certain negative steps. Like Lytton was there. Similarly, a villain is there, and villains are very, very important for the hero to rise. Right? So, like Lytton 7680, 1876 to 1880, his administration had done something very, very negative. Vernacular Press Act, Arms Act, Imperial Darbar, when famines are taking place, Afghan adventure, that is huge amount of war expenditure when famines are there, right? Decreasing the age of civil services, right? So, therefore, he was a very authoritarian kind of person, right? And therefore, the moderate activity, it reached a peak during the time period of Lytton, right? Then came Curzon, right? So Curzon is responsible for making the extremist activity reach a peak, right? Lytton ने moderates को एक peak पे पहुंचाया. Curzon will lead to initiation of the extremists, right? अब इसने कुछ चीजें करी. For example, he brought Calcutta Municipal Corporation Amendment Act. We know that as per the local cell government resolution of 1882 by Ripon 8084, local cell government was made very democratic, right? But Curzon was a person who did not trust the Indians. Therefore, in the Calcutta municipality, he reduced the number of elected members, and he reduced the powers of the Calcutta Municipal Corporation. So therefore, this acted as a grievance. Second, he brought Official Secrets Amendment Act, right? Official Secrets Amendment Act that hurt the freedom of the press. What do you mean by official? In the government, all the official work is taking place. Now, some of that official work is classified as secret, and then the press cannot discuss about it, right? ऐसा files के ऊपर secret वगैरह लिखा रहता है, top secret, secret is, right? National security, मतलब secret लिखा होता है, right? So therefore, now if the government expand the definition of what is secret to a bigger extent, then it automatically is an attack on the press. It is an attack on the freedom of press. Why? Because now the press talks about anything, criticizes the government policy or talks about the government decision making process, and the government can crack down on the press saying that you have leaked the official secrets. So therefore, expansion of the definition of what is a secret automatically hurts the freedom of press. अगर आप गवर्नमेंट की सारी एक्टिविटी को सीक्रेट कह दोगे फिर तो कोई फ्रीडम ऑफ प्रेस बचा ही नहीं, फिर तो गवर्नमेंट को क्रिटिसाइज कर ही नहीं सकते. गवर्नमेंट कैन नॉट बी क्रिटिसाइज, द इंटरनल डिसीजन मेकिंग कैन नॉट बी टॉक्ड अबाउट एट ऑल, राइट, बाय द editorials, that is by the press, right? This is what he brought. And the third very important act that he brought was what he call as Indian एक और ये भी था, Indian Universities Act 1904. Some of you who may have seen the education document, in that Indian Universities Act 1904 it is written, whereby this theme was there that Curzon, he believed that universities, they are becoming factories of sedition. Indians, they are getting higher education, and with the help of that higher education, now they are becoming more and more seditious. Right? Some Chhatra Netas are there, and this theme is not aaj ki nahi hai. Even in 1870, we wrote a sentence earlier that the Anglo-Indian press ran a campaign in 1860s that the educated Indians, they are becoming seditious, and therefore in 1870 higher education expenditure was decreased in Bengal. तो आज से नहीं हो रहा है, ठीक है? And they brought the universities under control to ensure now the government will decide who can do a PhD, who cannot do a PhD, who can be there in the university, who cannot be there in the university, how much. ऐसा नहीं कि छात्र नेता है क्या क्या कितने 45 साल का हो गया, 50 ऐसे ऐसे लोग हैं वैसे जो 50 साल के हो चुके हैं, उनके बच्चे बच्चे हो चुके हैं, वो कह रहे हैं छात्र युवा नेता है, कह रहे स्टूडेंट हूं मैं यूनिवर्सिटी में, वो हॉस्टल में बीवी बच्चे पल रहे हैं, ठीक है? सच काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियोज आर देयर, राइट? तो एनीवेज, राइट, सो देयरफॉर ऐसा, तो ब्रिंगिंग द यूनिवर्सिटीज अंडर कंट्रोल, दैट व्हाट एक्टिविटीज आर टेकिंग प्लेस, हु इज अलाउड टू डू पीएचडी, मैक्सिमम नंबर ऑफ इयर्स दैट यू कैन स्टे इन द यूनिवर्सिटी, ऐसा ऐसा करके. सो देयरफॉर यूनिवर्सिटीज को कंट्रोल में लेके आ गया, बिकॉज ऑल द इंपॉर्टेंट नेताज ऑफ टुडेज टाइम्स ऑल्सो एंड ऑफ ऑल टाइम्स, इफ यू लुक एट देयर जर्नी बिगैन इन कॉलेज, राइट? इनफैक्ट मेनी ऑफ द लॉयर्स, ठीक है, आधे से ज्यादा जो लॉयर्स हैं, ठीक है, उनका तो काम ही क्या होता है, वो मुझे पॉलिटिशियन ज्यादा दिखते हैं, लॉयर कम दिखते हैं, ठीक है? ऐसा ऐसा बैनर लिखा लगा हुआ होता है, ठीक है, हर कोर्ट वोट के सामने, है ना? तो देखा होगा आपने भी, राइट? तो जॉली एलएलबी पता नहीं, पर उनका काम लॉयर गिरी नहीं होता, उनका काम, वो पॉलिटिशियन है, ठीक है, वो पॉलिटिशियन है. जो लॉयर्स हैं 80% लॉयर्स तो पॉलिटिशियन बनने के लिए लॉयर बनते हैं, ठीक है? दिस काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो, उनका काम मतलब पॉलिटिक्स ज्यादा होता है, ऐसे बड़ा बड़ा बैनर लगा रहेगा, ये इलेक्शन वो इलेक्शन एटसेट्रा एटसेट्रा, राइट? तो एनीवेज, तो youth politics is very very important. They try to curb it, right? And last was what you call as your Bengal partition. तो अगर इसमें अगर देखा जाए, so इसमें Calcutta Municipal Corporation Amendment Act, so municipalities की freedom कम करी इन्होंने, ठीक? municipalities, right? Second component that या फिर हाँ ठीक है, local cell government बोल देते हैं, municipality या local cell government पावर्स डिक्रीज, मतलब ठीक है, ये तो मैं ऐसे ही बना रहा हूं, ठीक है? आपको बनाने की बाद में आप बना सकते हो इंडिपेंडेंट, राइट? सेकंड कंपोनेंट फॉर एग्जांपल यूनिवर्सिटीज को टारगेट किया, राइट? थर्ड दैट कम्स इनटू यूनिवर्सिटीज का जो फ्रीडम है, थर्ड जो है प्रेस आ गया, प्रेस फ्रीडम को टारगेट किया, एंड लास्ट बंगाल पार्टीशन. So this Bengal partition was a last nail in the coffin, and this will basically lead on to triggering of the Swadeshi movement. So therefore, Bengal partition. Now, what was the logic of Bengal partition? He wanted to hurt the Indian national movement in Bengal. He wanted to hurt the Indian national movement in Bengal. Bengal was what you call as the capital state, because Calcutta was the capital, right? So therefore, what is the importance of Delhi today? There is no special importance of Delhi. Delhi and Pondicherry farak kya hai? The only difference is both are UTs. The only difference is in Delhi, what you have is the capital. It is the center of power, and any activity that takes place in Delhi, it gets accentuated. Uska importance बढ़ जाता है, right? So obviously, political activity was very very high in and around Calcutta and in Bengal. Indian national movement was the strongest in Bengal, right? So that was the element. Now, who was the leadership? We said that uneven growth of Western education led to uneven growth of INM. So we know that those sections who got Western education, those are the sections who first absorbed the modern nationalistic ideas, and those are the sections who basically took the leadership of Indian national movement. ठीक? In case of, because education was not free, so in case of Bengal, who will be educated? The middle class will be educated because it has money. Upper castes, they are the middle class. Right, upper caste, they are the middle class, and the next generation of the लैंडलॉर्ड्स, राइट. सो बेसिकली दे आर द सेम पीपल. इनको बोला जाता था बंगाली ब्राह्मण्स और बंगाली भद्र लोग. So it is the upper caste Bengali Brahmins who are able to get Western education, who are the new middle class, right? And they are the ones who are basically leading the Indian national movement. आप नाम देख लीजिए, बिपिन चंद्र पाल, सुरेंद्रनाथ बनर्जिया, W.C. Banerjee, Chitranjan Das, right? So all of these are like upper caste Bengali Bhadralok बोला जाता है, Bengali Bhadralok, right? So they are the ones who are leading the Indian national movement, who are the top force of the Indian National Congress. So the idea was that let us divide Bengal into this kind of a situation. So this was your Bengal, which is having Bengal, Odisha, Bihar. And यहाँ पे on the right hand side there was something called Assam. Right? This is your Bengal, Odisha, Bihar, Bob. Right? Obviously Bengal is this side. So the idea was that we are going to this Assam, it was a UT at this particular point of time. So the idea was let us divide Bengal somewhat like this. कि ऐसा आपका, अबे यार क्या है ड्राइंग, अबे यार है नहीं नहीं रुको एक सेकंड, दूसरे तरीके से बनाते हैं इसको. Right, so let's say this is your Assam, right, and this is Bengal, Odisha, Bihar. And what is your plan? That you are going to create this, something like this. This is going to be your new province. This is going to be your new province, and this new province is going to be called East Bengal and Assam. East Bengal and Assam. Right, a new province will be created whereby you will take out this what you call as your East Bengal from Bengal, right, and you'll merge it with Assam to create a new province called East Bengal and Assam, right, and this will become your West Bengal, right, this will become your West Bengal. The Britishers, they gave certain official reasons for it. One of the official reason was that Bengal Suba is becoming very very big. Its population was the largest, and therefore it was becoming very tough to administer it, right. So therefore by shortening the size of Bengal, we will be able to do better, we will be able to have good governance, we will be able to have good administration. Otherwise the population is too big, it is becoming, the government is becoming overburdened, so size छोटा कर दो. That was one of the reason. Second reason was, so therefore इसका जो एक official जो reasons थे, right, one was what you call as size or administration. Second reason they said was that there was this thing called Chittagong port. Chittagong port. So therefore the Assam tea gardens, when Assam was separate, so Assam tea gardens, whenever they want to export their tea, they would have to cross into this province of Bengal. And when they cross the province of Bengal, so they would have to pay some taxes. They can be interstate taxes also. Abhi to GST aa gaya hai, otherwise there could be interstate taxes. And therefore it was expensive for them to use the Chittagong port, because Chittagong port is not part of Assam, it is part of another province called Bengal. But by creating East Bengal and Assam, Assam tea gardens will be able to have a port within their own new province. And therefore export of Assam tea via the Chittagong port will become cheaper. आपको किसी दूसरे प्रदेश का पोर्ट इस्तेमाल नहीं करना पड़ रहा, अब आपके खुद के प्रदेश में आपका अपना पोर्ट है. You don't have to use a port of another province. Now your own province will be able to have your own port. And therefore you'll be saving on some of the transaction costs, you'll be saving on taxes, right? So when you move goods from one state to another state, taxes are applied. अभी GST है, so कोई tax नहीं लगता है, one nation one tax, but otherwise earlier there used to be taxes, right? Third reason they mentioned, so second was your Chittagong port. They are the rulers. They are the rulers. They would want good governance, utilitarianism, good laws, good governance. That is an ideology. Best ideas of the age, liberalism. That is an ideology. If you are ruling India, you should rule India in an efficient manner. And if Britishers, they want to rule India in a more efficient manner, you cannot doubt them. Right? The ruler can be plus, the ruler can be minus. The ruler can be a dictator. But even dictators, they want good governance. Right? So therefore, why would anyone want inefficiency? So Chittagong port, it will be there. It will provide cheaper outlet to the, there will be a cheaper outlet for Assam tea gardens. For Assam tea gardens. Right? That is another reason. Then there was this Bengal Assam railways. Right? And similarly, when Assam was separate, then Assam Bengal Railways is part of two administrations. If any railway line repair is going to take place, if you have to introduce some new coaches, if you have to expand the network of Assam Bengal Railways, two governments, they have to coordinate activities with each other, they have to talk with each other, iron out their differences, and then arrive at some decision. And therefore, efficiency was not there in management of Assam Bengal Railways. But with creation of the new province, the Assam Bengal Railways will part of single administration. Single government will be handling the whole railway line. Single railway, the whole single administration will be handling the whole railway line. Right? क्योंकि पूरा का पूरा अब एक ही प्रदेश में पड़ रहा है. ठीक? So therefore, this was the another reason that was given with respect to that this is why we are doing the partition. But what was the grievance of the Indians? The grievance of the Indians was that if you want to really focus upon good governance and good administration, then instead of dividing Bengal on religious lines, this was a division of Bengal on religious lines. You should have divided Bengal on linguistic lines. How it was on religious lines? Because this East Bengal in Assam was going to be a Muslim majority province. Muslims will be in majority in the East Bengal and Assam. Right? So therefore, you have divided Bengal on religious lines. East Bengal had more Muslims. In Assam also, there was a district called Silhet district that had many Muslims. Right? And therefore, this East Bengal and Assam was basically a carrot to the elite Muslim leaders. It was a policy of divide and rule where he wanted to give something to the elite Muslim leaders. Right? And the idea was that ठीक है आएंगे उस पर ठीक है तो you have divided Bengal on religious lines. Good governance कब आता है? When there is linguistic organization of the states. Why? I am the government, you are the people. If all of you speak one common language, then it will be easier for the government to convey the decisions of the government to the people. Why? Because the government has to publish that notification, has to carry out the advertisements, has to carry out the news programs in single language. It is easier for me to rule you if you understand one single common language, and it will lead to administrative efficiency. If you are speaking language A, you are speaking language B, you are speaking language C, language D, language E, then as a ruler it becomes tough for me. मुझे हर एक कानून भी 5 languages में छापना पड़ेगा. I would have to publish each law, each scheme, right, in multiple languages. My district magistrates, if districts are not linguistically organized, what will be the trouble for the district magistrates? Imagine. So therefore, if administrative efficiency was your concern, तो आपको बंगाल को language के basis पे divide करना चाहिए था. Bengalis, Odia, right, your Bihari, Maithili, etc., whatever, right? You should have divided it like that. Second component, the charge is that basically now what happened in the East Bengal and Assam, Hindus are in minority. That means tomorrow, if provincial legislative councils elections take place, if tomorrow provincial legislative council elections take place, the Hindu Bengali Brahmins, they will not be able to join the councils. Why? Because Hindus are in minority and the elite Muslim leaders, their chances will be much higher to join the provincial legislative councils. Their chances also will be much higher if indirect elections are there to the imperial legislative council. And therefore you have ensured that from this East Bengal and Assam, the INC leaders who are majorly upper caste Bengali Brahmins, they do not win elections. And therefore their political importance पे आपने हथौड़ा मार दिया है. In West Bengal, the Bengali speaking population was in minority. In West Bengal, the Bengali speaking population was now in minority. Odia speaking population and different tongues which are there in Bihar, right? Maithili, Bhojpuri, they are now more in numbers. And as a result, in this West Bengal also, if any Bengali Bhadralok will be fighting elections, his chances of winning elections will be very low. At provincial level, now if the Congress unit of West Bengal tries to do some political activity, the support on the ground will not be like that. Why? Because state borders also matters. So therefore, this is how you have ensured that the INM leadership in Bengal is assassinated politically. They are assassinated politically. They are butchered politically. And who will be able to come to power? Now, pro-British elements, they can come to power. Now, Muslim League, that was set up in 1906, we'll come to that. Now, elite Muslim leaders, they have a better chance. And therefore, this is also divide and rule tactics by the Britishers. So therefore, in the case of West Bengal, that is your Hindus are in minority. Hindus in minority. अब इसको बना लीजिए आप. And West Bengal में Bengalis in minority. So therefore, this was the plan of Curzon, that how to reduce the importance of Bengali Bhadralok, which led the Indian national movement in Bengal. Sir, how finances were managed for constructive work, how leaders were able to do constructive work in a situation, huge poverty and very lack of resources. Yeah, so constructive work was not on a massive scale. Pooling of resources, right, by the community. ठीक है, कुछ कुछ पैसा आप लोग इकट्ठा करेंगे, प्लस ऑब्वियसली फिलैंथ्रोपिक एक्टिविटी. इफ आई एम अ लॉयर हु वांट्स, मतलब ऑब्वियसली एनजीओ लाइक एक्टिविटी, मेरे पास एक्स्ट्रा पैसा, आई एम डूइंग सम फिलैंथ्रोपिक एक्टिविटी. हाँ, बट आप पॉलिटिकली सोचिए, इलेक्शन वाइज आप सोचिए इसको. सोसाइटी तो डिवाइड होना ठीक है, बट आप इलेक्शन वाइज सोचिए. इलेक्शंस होते हैं एट प्रोविंस लेवल, एट स्टेट लेवल इलेक्शंस. आज यूपी का इलेक्शन है, कल मिजोरम का इलेक्शन है, शाम को तमिलनाडु का इलेक्शन है. सो इलेक्शन दे टेक प्लेस स्टेट वाइज. सो देयरफॉर स्टेट में विच पर्टिकुलर कम्युनिटी इज इन मेजॉरिटी, दैट विल डिटरमाइन द इलेक्टोरल रिजल्ट्स. हाँ, but you have also played the card that now you are giving political power. You are able to give political power. There's a handshake between elite Muslim leaders and the Britishers, that we can bring you to power by dividing Bengal like this. In return, you do not give any anti-British call. You stay pro-British. You ensure that the Muslim masses, they remain pro-British. So it is about political power. Society तो कितनी में divide हो सकती है? It is about political power. Right? So this was the idea of the Bengal partition. अब in the initial phase what happened, ठीक है, अब इसके जो phases अगर आप देखोगे तो इसके जो phases हैं, जो बंगाल मूवमेंट, राइट, सो व्हाई इट हैपेंड, राइट, व्हाई डिड द स्वदेशी मूवमेंट टुक प्लेस, ऐसा हमने बताया. अब इसके कुछ इवेंट्स या कुछ हाइलाइट्स देखते हैं. अगर सो फीचर्स में फॉर एग्जाम्पल, सो अगर इवेंट्स वाइज देखा जाए तो इवेंट्स वाइज ब्रॉडली 3 एलिमेंट्स आर देयर. वन इज द मॉडरेट एलिमेंट, मॉडरेट फेज, राइट, इट इज बिफोर स्वदेशी. It is before Swadeshi. In the moderate phase before Swadeshi, so Indians, they came to know about the partition of Bengal in 1903, and from 1903 to 1905, the moderate activity took place. That is, people, they wrote articles, requested the Britishers, begged the Britishers that please do not partition Bengal, try to reason it out with them, that see there are better options of dividing Bengal on language basis rather than on religion basis, right? So moderate activity took place for 2 years. But this moderate activity failed. Why? Because in October 1905, partition of Bengal was still done. And now the extremists, they come into operation. So then came the extremist phase. And this extremist phase was there from 1905 to 1908. The extremists told the moderates, बेटा तुमसे ना हो पाएगा, ठीक, तुमसे ना हो पाएगा, this moderate methods they will not work. And therefore these are the people who did what? These are the people who converted the movement from just anti-partition movement into movement for Swaraj. So therefore these are the people who began the Swadeshi movement. So these people, they converted anti-partition movement into Swadeshi movement. They converted anti-partition movement to Swadeshi movement. That is, हमारा goal partition of Bengal नहीं है मात्र. Our goal is Swaraj. We are out on the street not just because you have partitioned Bengal. वो तो एक हमारी demand है ही. Apart from that, another our demand is Swaraj, and Swaraj for whole of India, whole of British India. So therefore, these are the people who are raising the bar. These are the people who are raising the goal from limited goal of कि Bengal का partition ना हो to the goal that Swaraj should be given to India. Right? So therefore, Swadeshi movement was much bigger than the issue of partition. Issue of partition एक मुद्दा था. One of the topic was partition, but Swadeshi movement was for Swaraj. So partition, anti-partition movement was only for Bengal, whereas Swaraj, Swadeshi was for Swaraj, and Swaraj of Hindustan, Swaraj of India or British India. Right? So therefore, this is what they are saying. Then the methods that they proposed was passive resistance, right? That is boycott and civil disobedience movement, right? So therefore, what was their method? So they are the ones who are giving this goal. It was here that in 1906 INC session, INC also adopted that fine, our goal is also now Swaraj for British India. Swaraj for British India. The method that these people, they said continue constructive work, but also do passive resistance. Passive resistance माने NC plus CD. Right? NC plus CD. Non-cooperation plus civil disobedience. Right? So this is the method they are operating. Right? But there was something called Surat split. 1907. And after this Surat split, this particular phase, it came to an end. And now came what you call as a revolutionary phase. Now came revolutionary phase. After the failure of extremists, revolutionary phase was there, which was there from 1908, 7 बोल सकते हैं, ठीक है, 1908 to 1911. And by 1911, this revolutionary phase, using the guns, right, that phase also came to an end. In 1911, the partition of Bengal, it was ended. Right. So anyways, these are the events or these are the features. Right. तो ऐसा है, तो इसको इतना लिखिए. चाय बोल दीजिए प्लीज, थैंक यू, ठंडी हो गई. Right. So these are the events or which take place during the Swadeshi movement. ऊपर तो फीचर्स लिखा हुआ भाई, देख लेना फिर. डू पीआर, प्यार कर. पैसिव रेजिस्टेंस, डू पैसिव रेजिस्टेंस. मेथड क्या था? Revolutionaries are part of extremists? No. Extremists, they believe in mass action. The extremists, they want people like you and me to participate. Revolutionaries, they do not believe in, they do not, depend on people participating. They depend on themselves doing dhai. Anyways, this was just a sample short note that how you can make, short notes. You will be writing down and you can create your own better short notes also. Hanji. अब वो दिसंबर है ना, सूरत स्प्लिट 1907 दिसंबर में है ना. तो इसलिए 1908 तक बोला जाता है, राइट। सो राइट डाउन। अरे ये तो तुम बना लोगे यार, खुद से बना लोगे। ये तो बस एक डेमो था कि एक बार आपको टॉपिक के ऊपर ग्रिप आ जाती है तो फिर आप अपने शॉर्ट नोट्स कैसे बना सकते हैं छोटा करके, ठीक है। अभी इसमें बहुत सारे शॉर्ट नोट्स हैं जो मैंने नहीं बनाए हैं। कौन से वाले, मतलब यहां तक के तो बना दिए, बट फॉर एग्जांपल इनको भी आप फर्दर इलेबोरेट कर सकते हो। जैसे जो बच्चे अभी ये बना रहे हैं उनका कोई फायदा नहीं है, क्यों? उन्हें ये नहीं पता ना सूरज स्प्लिट क्या है, उन्होंने ना जगह इसके आगे छोड़ी ना जगह इसके नीचे छोड़ी, ठीक है। एटलीस्ट आपके शॉर्ट नोट्स में इतनी जगह जरूर छोड़नी चाहिए कि एक सिंपल शब्दों में सूरज स्प्लिट क्या था, क्यों हुआ और उसका इंपैक्ट क्या हुआ। एटलीस्ट 2 या 3 लाइन इतना छोटे में संक्षिप्त में अपने आप को बता सकें, कम से कम वो हो। अभी तो आप रट्टू तोते की तरह कॉपी पेस्ट कर लिया, इसके नीचे जगह नहीं छोड़ी आपने, है ना। बगल में छोड़ दी, तेरी बगल में सिर्फ बाल हैं, ठीक जगह नहीं है। लिख लिख, चलो। स्वदेशी मूवमेंट लिखो लिखो, स्वदेशी मूवमेंट, स्वदेशी मूवमेंट रीजंस, स्वदेशी मूवमेंट रीजंस, स्वदेशी मूवमेंट रीजंस। फर्स्ट सब पॉइंट, कर्जोनियन एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, कर्जोनियन एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन 9905, कर्जोनियन एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन 9905, कर्जोनियन एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन 9905। Curzon 9905 in brackets 1899-1905. First sub point, Calcutta Municipal Corporation, Calcutta Municipal Corporation, Calcutta Municipal Corporation Amendment Act, Calcutta Municipal Corporation Amendment Act 1899, Calcutta Municipal Corporation Amendment Act 1899, that decreased number of elected members, that decreased number of elected members, that decreased number of elected members. Second point, Indian Universities Act 1904, Indian Universities Act 1904, Indian Universities Act 1904 dash brought UNIVs, UNIV लिख लो ना, brought UNIVs under government control, brought universities under government control, brought UNIVs under government control. As Curzon believed, as Curzon 9905 believed, as Curzon 9905 believed, as Curzon 9905 believed that they are becoming factories of sedition, that they are becoming factories of sedition, they are becoming factories of sedition, factories of sedition, SEDITION. Sedition means anti-government activity, someone planning to overthrow the government of the state. Next, Official Secrets Amendment Act, Indian Official Secrets Amendment Act, Indian Official Secrets Amendment Act 1904, Indian Official Secrets Amendment Act 1904 that reduced freedom of press, that reduced freedom of press, that reduced freedom of press. Next point, Partition of Bengal, October 1905 dash, Partition of Bengal, October 1905 dash, Partition of Bengal, October 1905 dash. First sub point, British justification, British justification dash, British justification dash, British justification dash. Better administration, better administration. Look here, first point. ये शॉर्ट नोट्स आपके कैसे बनने, मैं आपको रिवर्स बता रहा हूं ना अभी। आइडियली तो क्या होता, मैं आपको ये चीजें लिखवाता, उसके बाद आप इस पे आते। अगर आप देखोगे एक एक सेंटेंस जो हमने लिखा है दैट इज इन लाइन. हमने क्या लिखा है यहाँ पे, आपके जो नोट्स भी बनने चाहिए वो तो अभी मैं थोड़ा जल्दी पढ़ा तो मैंने क्या इसमें पूरा लिखूंगा, बट देखिए प्लस बेनिफिट क्या है. अगर आप लिखते हैं कैलकाटा म्युनिसिपल कॉर्पोरेशन अमेंडमेंट एक्ट, ठीक है, तो उसको यही घुसेड़ दो, कैलकाटा म्युनिसिपल कॉर्पोरेशन अमेंडमेंट एक्ट, ठीक है, इन ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा लिख दो एलएसजी पावर्स डिक्रीज या इलेक्टेड मेंबर्स डिक्रीज, ठीक है ऐसा. तो आपके जो आइडियल शॉर्ट नोट्स बनेंगे उसमें इस तरीके से आप प्रीलिम्स वाले फैक्ट्स भी इंक्लूड कर सकते हो, ठीक है. तो ऐसा. उसके बाद यूनिवर्सिटीज वाला हर चीज आपके उस तरीके से चल रही है, बट ये नोट्स ताकि आपके सिर्फ मेंस के नहीं प्रीलिम्स के भी नोट्स हो, तो इस वजह से इंस्टेड ऑफ राइटिंग यूनिवर्स फ्रीडम आप लिखिए इंडियन यूनिवर्सिटीज अमेंडमेंट एक्ट और इंडियन यूनिवर्सिटीज एक्ट 1904, ठीक. तो वो प्रीलिम्स का भी बन गया है और उसका भी बन गया, राइट. अब हम ई वाला पार्ट लिख रहे हैं. तो what was the justification? That size of Bengal is very high and therefore for good administration we are partitioning it. So British justification dash better administration as undivided Bengal had highest population. Better administration as undivided Bengal had highest population. Had highest population and huge area. Had highest population and huge area. सेमीकॉलन प्लस. अच्छा इसमें एक और पॉइंट है वो वही लिखवा देता हूं. उसमें क्या पॉइंट था बेसिकली, इन्होंने मतलब जस्टिफाई किया कि यार असम इज अ यूटी सो इट डज नॉट हैव इट्स ओन सिविल सर्विसेज कार्डर. यूटीज दे डू नॉट हैव देयर ओन कार्डर ना, दैट्स व्हाई आगमुट कार्डर मल्टीपल यूटीज आर ब्रॉट टुगेदर टू क्रिएट अ कार्डर, राइट. बट महाराष्ट्र इज अ प्रॉपर स्टेट, इट हैज अ प्रॉपर महाराष्ट्र कार्डर, राइट. सो व्हेन यू हैव अ प्रॉपर कार्डर एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन इज बेटर. Why? Because the bureaucrats, they will stay in that particular cadre throughout their life. Over a period of time, they'll know that area, they will know the people, they will know the problems of that particular state in a much better manner. And therefore, they will be able to provide better solutions, better administration. Whereas, in the case of UT, proper cadre nahi hai, someone is coming from deputation, 6 महीने रह लिया, 1 साल रह लिया, 2 साल रह लिया, फिर चला गया, फिर कोई और आ गया, ऐसा. ठीक है, तो UTs में like ऐसा different मतलब एक प्रॉपर कार्डर हो तो वो बेटर रहता है, बिकॉज देन द ऑफिशियल्स दे आर मच मोर अटैच्ड टू देयर पर्टिकुलर स्टेट, राइट. तो वही पॉइंट है. सेमीकोलन प्लस साइज ऑफ असम वुड इंक्रीज, साइज ऑफ असम वुड इंक्रीज, साइज ऑफ असम वुड इंक्रीज एंड ईस्ट बंगाल इन असम एंड ईस्ट बंगाल इन असम, ईस्ट बंगाल एंड असम इन ब्रैकेट्स डाला लगा के ईबीए, इस प्रोविंस का नाम था ईबीए. ईबीए माने ईस्ट बंगाल एंड असम, दिस इज द नेम ऑफ द न्यू प्रोविंस. एंड ईस्ट बंगाल एंड असम इन ब्रैकेट्स डाला लगा के ईबीए would be an LG province. EBA would be an LG province. LG province माने प्रॉपर लेफ्टिनेंट गवर्नर लेवल प्रोविंस. यूटी होती थी चीफ कमिश्नर के अंडर, जो आज के टाइम पे जो एलजी हम जिसको बोलते हैं ना, लाइक दिल्ली इज अंडर एलजी, उस टाइम पे दैट एलजी वाज कॉल्ड चीफ कमिश्नर. सो यूटीज वर कॉल्ड चीफ कमिश्नर प्रोविंसेस, यूनियन टेरिटरीज वर कॉल्ड चीफ कमिश्नर प्रोविंसेस, राइट. वेयर प्रॉपर स्टेट्स दे वर अंडर लेफ्टिनेंट गवर्नर. एंड जो ओरिजिनल प्रेसिडेंसी थी, राइट, फॉर एग्जाम्पल योर बॉम्बे एंड मद्रास, दे वर अंडर गवर्नर्स, राइट. बंगाल के केस में योर गवर्नर ऑफ बंगाल went on to become Governor General of India, right? So therefore Dalhousie, to decrease his workload, because he has to work as Chief Minister of Bengal also and Prime Minister of India also. So to decrease his workload around 1854 or 56, 55, उस time पे, after Charter Act of 1853, he decreased his workload and appointed Lieutenant Governor for Bengal. So Bengal had LG, Bombay and Madras they had governors, other provinces they had LGs. ऐसा, not important, but practical purposes LG governor same thing. ठीक? So it will become LG level province माने full proper province which has its own cadre. An LG province with its own civil services cadre, with its own civil services cadre, with its own civil services cadre. Improving administration in Assam. improving administration in Assam. Semicolon plus Assam Bengal Railways. Assam Bengal Railways will come under single administration. Assam Bengal Railways will come under single administration. Will come under single administration of new province of EBA. Of new province of EBA. East Bengal and Assam. Semicolon plus cheaper maritime outlet. Cheaper maritime outlet. MARITIME. Cheaper maritime outlet via Chittagong port. Cheaper maritime outlet via Chittagong port to Assam tea gardens. Cheaper maritime outlet via Chittagong port for Assam tea gardens or to Assam tea gardens. So this is their version. बहुत clean. What is the Indian stand? Next point write down. Indian stand. Indian stand. Best administrative decision. Best administrative decision. Best administrative decision would have been to divide Bengal. Would have been to divide Bengal on linguistic basis. Would have been to divide Bengal on linguistic basis. मतलब you should have divided Bengal in such a way so Bengal is of Bengalis. अब यहाँ पे Bengalis are feeling that we are in minority and वहाँ पे Hindus are feeling that they are in minority. Majority of Bengalis, they were Hindus, right? Anyways. Divide Bengal on linguistic basis instead of religious basis. Instead of religious basis. Therefore, primary purpose was to decrease linguistic unity of Bengalis. Primary purpose was to decrease linguistic unity of Bengalis. And weaken INM and INC in Bengal. And weaken INM and INC in Bengal. That was led by Bengali Bhadralok. That was led by Bengali Bhadralok. In brackets ताला के Brahmins. भद्रलोक माने जेंटलमैन होता वैसे. Brahmins. Bengali Bhadralok. Full stop. Therefore, it was policy of divide and rule. Full stop. Therefore, it was policy of divide and rule. In brackets डाला गया DNR. Capital D, small n, capital R. Divide and rule will be multiple times will be using divide and rule तो लंबा होता फालतू. Therefore, it was policy of divide and rule. As Bengalis would become linguistic minority. As Bengalis would become linguistic minority in West Bengal. Bengalis would become linguistic minority in West Bengal. While new province of EBA would have Hindus in minority. New province of EBA would have Hindus in minority. Therefore, hurting support base. Therefore, hurting support base of Bengali Bhadralok in both provinces. Therefore, hurting support base of Bengali Bhadralok in both provinces. Therefore, hurting support base of Bengali Bhadralok in both provinces. In both provinces. In brackets डाला गया लिखिए. Imagine state level election. State level election and indirect election. मतलब कोई सी भी इलेक्शन ले लो, स्टेट लेवल इलेक्शन एंड नेशनल इलेक्शन एंड ILC इलेक्शन. Bengali Bhadralok won't win both provinces. Won't win in both provinces. State level election and ILC election dash Bengali Bhadralok will not win in both provinces. Why? Because majority उनका सपोर्ट बेस जो था दोनों जगह माइनॉरिटी बन चुका है. वेस्ट बंगाल में बंगालीज माइनॉरिटी में है और ईस्ट बंगाल एंड असम में हिंदूज माइनॉरिटी में है. तो बंगाली ब्राह्मण्स का जो सपोर्ट बेस है वो दोनों ही जगह माइनॉरिटी में आ गए. तो माइनॉरिटी पार्टी ही रहेगी उनकी दोनों प्रोविंसेस में. राइट. एंड इन दी ILC ऑल्सो सीट्स आर एलोकेटेड टू प्रोविंसेस. राइट. तो ऑटोमेटिकली ILC में भी दिक्कत आएगी बिकॉज seats are allocated. For example, this is your ILC. So these many seats will be allocated to West Bengal. These many seats will be allocated to EBA, right? And EBA PLC will be sending members here. EBA, your West Bengal PLC will be sending members here. तो यहाँ पे भी आपका वही proportion में ही आएगा, mirror image बनेगी. So automatically they will not be able to have political power. Full stop. It was also an act of appeasement. It was also an act of appeasement. It was also an act of appeasement of elite Muslims. It was also an act of appeasement of elite Muslims. Elite Muslims. इनको कैसे अपीज किया जा रहा है? इनको तो सत्ता का लड्डू दिया जा रहा है ना कि अरे पहले तो तुम्हारे मौके ही नहीं थे, अब तो मौके पे चौका मारोगे. राइट. ब्रैकेट में स्टार आगे लिखिए. will become members of councils. Will become members of councils. Will become members of councils in PLC and ILC. In PLC and ILC. In PLC and ILC. PLC कौन सा? In PLC of EBA. In PLC of EBA and ILC. In PLC of EBA and ILC. Will become member of councils in PLC of EBA, East Bengal and Assam. Why? Because Muslims are in majority there. So therefore, और naturally elections कौन जीतेगा? Overall seats, constituencies इस प्रकार से divide होंगी. So therefore, it is a laddu to them. Right? It is a carrot to them. It is an act of appeasement of elite Muslims, so they stay pro-British. Brackets closed. हाँ जी. So student is saying that Indian National Congress was a secular party and Indian National Congress could have taken the support of the Muslims also, and accordingly it could have come to power. Why this vote bank politics mattering? Because the point is INC might want to be leaders of the Muslims, but do the Muslims want INC as their leader? INC wants to be leader of the lower castes, but do lower castes see INC as their leader? INC wants to be leader of women, but do women see them as their leader? Non-Marathi speaking population of Maharashtra, do they see INC as their leader? Non-Bengali speaking population of Bengal, do they see INC as their leader? Their claim INC was not truly representative and therefore their claim of representing India was weak. This statement you have written. You can be a upper caste, you can be a lower caste leader. You want that yes, upper caste they should vote to me despite me being a lower caste leader. But the problem is in your political party there are no other upper caste, so upper caste they don't vote for you. Why? You want that women they should vote for you, while in your political party you have not given even a single ticket to any women. तुम्हारे चाहने से क्या होता है? वोट बैंक पॉलिटिक्स तो नेचुरल वे में चलती है. And then you are moderates. You will not take up social questions. Lower caste will get oppressed by the upper caste. You will not take up their social question. Hindu-Muslim communal divide will be there. You will not take up their social question. You will not take up social question of women empowerment. और तुम चाहते हो सब लोग तुम्हें वोट दे दें? कहां के नवाब हो? चाहने से क्या होता है? जो वोट बैंक पॉलिटिक्स है वो तो उसी प्रकार से बनेगी. Later on we'll discuss Sir Syed Ahmad Khan in 1870s. In 1885 he declared that INC is a Hindu organization and Muslims they should not support it. Right? So Muslim leaders are there in the Indian National Congress, but उससे ये थोड़ी हो जाता है that they are the ones who will get all the votes of the Muslims. Whereas you have an organization called Muslim League in 1906. So उसके तो नाम में ही मुस्लिम है. So therefore the tendency will be higher that so vote bank politics वैसी चलती है. Write down events. First point. Indians came to know about intent of partition. Indians came to know about intent of partition via Risley papers. 1903. Via Risley papers 1903. In bracket star लगा के Risley was Home Secretary. So he published some papers in which it was written that the government is thinking about partition of Bengal. Indians came to know about intent of partition via Risley papers. In brackets, Risley was Home Secretary. Risley papers 1903 that had Curzons. Minute on territorial redistribution. That had details of partition. That had details of partition. ठीक, next point. इसको यहीं पे लिख लेते हैं, है ना? इसको मतलब किसको तो मेरे दिमाग में चल रहा है. तो from the perspective of prelims, Indians came to know about the intent of partition in 1903 Risley papers, but the decision of partition was taken in October 1905. ठीक है, तो आप सेकंड पॉइंट लिख लीजिए. Actual partition in October 1905 dash. Actual partition in October 1905 dash. Curzon's dispatch, Curzon's dispatch, डिस्पैच माने चिट्ठी भेज देना कुछ, ठीक है. कर्जन्स डिस्पैच एक ऐसा फाइल, डिस्पैच, कर्जन्स डिस्पैच. और मिनट का भी क्या मतलब होता है, पॉलिसी और सम डिटेल्स, है ना. कर्जन्स डिस्पैच टू एसओएस फॉर इंडिया, कर्जन्स डिस्पैच टू एसओएस फॉर इंडिया, कर्जन्स डिस्पैच टू एसओएस फॉर इंडिया, सेक्रेटरी ऑफ स्टेट फॉर इंडिया. वो कहां बैठता है, लंदन में बैठता है, ठीक है. तो कर्जन से ऐसा फाइल भेजा टू सेक्रेटरी ऑफ स्टेट इन लंदन, राइट. एंड दैट हैड फाइनल डिटेल्स अबाउट पार्टीशन, that exactly what area will be part of East Bengal and Assam and how it will be carried out, final details उसके अंदर थी, right. And Secretary of State, he did not discuss this matter in the Parliament. Ideally he should have, and without any proper discussion, without any discussion, he accepted कि हाँ चलो let us do partition. And therefore this was also one of our grievance that the British Parliament did not apply its mind. It did not even properly discuss that whether there should be partition or whether there should not be partition. They simply accepted what Curzon said. Right, so that was also one of the grievance, right. So Curzon's dispatch to SOS for India had final scheme of things, had final details of Bengal partition, had final details of Bengal partition. Full stop. SOS Broderick, SOS Broderick, SOS Broderick accepted partition, accepted partition, SOS Broderick accepted partition without proper discussion, accepted partition without proper discussion in British Parliament, without proper discussion in British Parliament, without proper discussion in British Parliament. हाँ जी मैडम, आप बताइए ये सेंटेंस का क्या मीनिंग है. सेक्रेटरी ऑफ स्टेट फॉर इंडिया एक्सेप्टेड डिसीजन ऑफ पार्टीशन विदाउट एनी डिस्कशन इन ब्रिटिश पार्लियामेंट. यू टेल मी हाउ एसओएस फॉर इंडिया इज द अथॉरिटी टू एक्सेप्ट और रिजेक्ट बंगाल पार्टीशन. इस सेंटेंस से हमें पता चल रहा है दैट हु इज द फाइनल डिसीजन अथॉरिटी, एसओएस फॉर इंडिया. तो वो क्यों है फाइनल डिसीजन मेकिंग अथॉरिटी? तो मैडम है, बताओ बताओ. क्यों है वो फाइनल अथॉरिटी? सेक्रेटरी ऑफ स्टेट फॉर इंडिया फाइनल अथॉरिटी क्यों है विद रिस्पेक्ट टू डिसीजन ऑफ बंगाल पार्टीशन? लीगल बेसिस क्या है उसका? आप बताओ मैडम. नहीं पता? आप बताओ. नहीं पता? कौन बताएगा? हाँ जी, ब्रिलियंट. ब्राइट में स्टार आगे लिखिए. GOI 1858, GOI 1858 made SOS for India, made SOS for India director of policy, director of policy and top decision making authority on India. Made SOS for India director of policy and top decision making authority on India. Top decision making authority on India. Bracket is closed. That is why कौन accept करेगा, कौन reject करेगा? Ultimately Secretary of State. Secretary of State could overthrow any bill brought by the Viceroy also. Viceroy was the deputy of the Secretary of State. Right? Gaurav has also given the right answer. It is not Charter Act though, it is called Government of India Act 1858. Next, write down moderate phase. Next point, next event, moderate phase. Moderate phase. Moderate phase. Clarity होना चाहिए. Moderate phase against Bengal partition. Moderate phase not for Swaraj. Moderate phase not for स्वदेशी मूवमेंट. अभी स्वदेशी मूवमेंट स्टार्ट नहीं हुआ है. स्वदेशी मूवमेंट है 1905. Moderate phase against partition. Against partition. In brackets 1903-05. moderate phase against partition in brackets 1903-05. तो मॉडरेट एक्टिविटी तो पता ही हमें, भीख मांगना, ठीक, begging, right, sending petitions, writing articles, trying to convince with logic that see this is not the right decision, right? So ultimately that is failing because partition still takes place in October 1905. So write down, led by SNB. SNB कौन थे? सुरेंद्रनाथ बनर्जिया. Led by SNB and CR Das. Led by SNB and CR Das. CR Das. Led by SNB and CR Das. CR Das was the political guru of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. CR Das, etc. Via press campaign. Via press campaign. In Bengali, Bengali was the newspaper of SNB. In Bengali, Sanjeevani and Hitabati. These are all newspapers. Bengali, Sanjeevani, Hitabati. Hitabati. Full stop, failed by 1905. Bengali, Sanjeevani, Hitabati. HITABADI. Full stop, failed by October 1905. Failed by October 1905. Obviously, failure तो है ही ना. मतलब जब बंगाल पार्टीशन हो गया तो फेल तो ही गया. So they failed. Next, write down. Extremist phase. Extremist phase. 1905-08. Extremist phase. 1905-08. Extremist phase. 1905-08. So you'll be surprised to know that the issue became so emotive. The issue became so emotive that it was a moderate, Surendranath Banerjee, who actually began the extremist politics. Temporarily, he became an extremist. Why? Moved by emotions. Bengal is partitioned, so therefore, when the decision comes that Bengal is indeed partitioned, so a moderate started behaving like an extremist. He gave the call for boycott of British goods. He gave the call for boycott of British goods. So, from the perspective of prelims, Swadeshi movement was led by extremists. But, agar prelims mein, if anyone tries to confuse you, that who was the initiator of extremist phase, it was surprisingly, ironically, a moderate, Surendranath Banerjee. Right? So, therefore, he was the person who gave the call for boycott. Right? Obviously, the Madras moderates and the Bombay moderates, they are not happy. Madras moderates, Bombay moderates, they are not happy. They try to talk to Surendranath Banerjee. क्या कर रहा पगले? This is not your kind of politics. गुंडों में फंस जाएगा. रजिया गुंडों में गिर जाएगी. ठीक है, आईएनसी रजिया दिक्कत हो जाएगी. ये क्या कर रहे हो? Right? These masses, they are gawar. They'll take law in their hand. They'll do Agjani. They'll do fire, and all of these incidents will take place. INC will be banned. What are you doing? This is not our way of doing things. This is not our way of doing things. SNB, Surendranath Banerjee Muda, and the Bombay moderates were surprised. He had tears in his eyes. And he said, Amar Sonar Bangla. Bombay moderates understand, issue is very sensitive, emotions are running high. Bengal moderates, extra emotional. So fine, kya kare? Right? So, but Bombay moderates are waiting for their time. They are not happy that this extremist activities are rising. They fear, they are anxious that INC will be taken over by extremists like Lal Bal Pal. Ye ho kya raha hai? And Bengali moderates, they are very emotional at this particular point of time. For them, it is Amar Sonar Bangla. Right? And they are not ready to listen. Even as a moderate, they are acting like an extremist. So, therefore, that is what is happening. Right? So, write on. Obviously, the Bombay moderates and Madras moderates, they also do not want partition. But methods pe issue hai. They want methods as moderate methods. They do not want methods where masses are involved. because they don't have any faith in the masses. They are not the people who go out on the streets and do mass politics. They are not the people of dharnas. They believe in constitutional agitations. And what are constitutional agitations? When you use the mechanisms which are created by the state. When you use the mechanisms which are created by the state for your agitations. Right? So write newspaper articles, join the councils, make a speech on the floor of the house, file RTI, file a CP gram complaint. This action on the streets, this is not constitutional methods. They believed in constitutional methods, whereas these are extra constitutional methods. Right? So write down. Next point. SNB gave call for boycott. SNB gave call for boycott. मतलब ये extremist phase dash. SNB gave call for boycott by passing a resolution. By passing a resolution for boycott of British goods and institutions. SNB gave call for boycott by passing a resolution for boycott of British goods and institutions at Calcutta Town Hall. At Calcutta Town Hall and institutions. British goods and institutions at Calcutta Town Hall. In bracket star लगा के thumb rule dash Swadeshi movement was by extremists. Thumb rule dash Swadeshi movement was by extremists. Brackets closed. Thumb rule ये याद रखना है, स्वदेशी मूवमेंट वॉज बाय एक्सट्रीमिस्ट. यहाँ पे सूर्यनाथ बनर्जी इज अ मॉडरेट, सो ये एक आउटलायर है. दिस इज ये एक अलग चीज हो रही है. बट इन द प्रीलिम्स इफ सिंपली एनीवन आस्क दैट स्वदेशी मूवमेंट वाज स्टार्टेड बाय और वाज लेड बाय राइट एक्सट्रीमिस्ट्स, राइट. बट स्पेसिफिकली कोई क्वेश्चन आपसे पूछे दैट हु वाज द फर्स्ट वन टू गिव अ कॉल फॉर बॉयकॉट, देयर माय स्टूडेंट शुड नो दैट इट वाज अ मॉडरेट कॉल्ड सूर्यनाथ बनर्जी. माय स्टूडेंट शुड नॉट बी कंफ्यूज्ड. Right, so nuances and छोटे from the perspective of prelims. So that's why as a thumb rule it is by extremist, but if you become extra specific you notice that it was a moderate who became the initiator, but फिर leadership was taken over by the extremists. Right, next point. Next point माने extremist phase का ही second sub point. Extremist phase का second sub point. Barisal conference 1906. April 1906. Barisal Conference, April 1906. Barisal Conference, April 1906. ये important turning point था because the conference was taking place. Aurobindo Ghosh was also present, who is a extremist and part revolutionary, and your Suryanath Banerjee is also present. And they were distributing badges of Bande Mataram. Bande Mataram, it became like a slogan, nationalistic slogan. Right, they distributed badges of Bande Mataram. Bande Mataram was given by Bankim, वो मैं आपको ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा के दिखाऊंगा, उसका origin 1800s में है. But here that is the idea of Mother India, right, cultural nationalism. Here that became a slogan, Bande Mataram. So badges of Bande Mataram was being given to people in this conference, and police did huge repression. बेमतलब का लाठी charge was done by the police. And after this, the movement कहीं ना कहीं parallelly revolutionary activity also kind of छोटा छोटा में start होगा. Anger rises among the Indians like anything after the police repression of the Barisal Conference. Right, so write down. Here SNB and Aurobindo. Here SNB and Aurobindo. Here SNB and Aurobindo distributed badges of Bande Mataram. Distributed badges of Bande Mataram. Distributed badges of Bande Mataram. And police brutally repressed it. And police brutally repressed it. And police brutally repressed it. Brutally repressed it. ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा लिखिए, बंकिम चंद्र चैटर्जी. बंकिम चंद्र चैटर्जी. बंकिम चंद्र चैटर्जी. 1838-94. 1838-94. 1838-94. Dash gave idea of Bharat Mata. gave idea of Bharat Mata, gave idea of Bharat Mata, gave idea of Bharat Mata in novel, in novel, Anand Mat, in novel, Anand Mat, in novel, Anand Mat, 1882, in novel, Anand Mat, 1882, in novel, Anand Mat, 1882, and composed Bande Mataram, and composed Bande Mataram, and composed Bande Mataram, and composed Bande Mataram. इसी के अंदर ब्रैकेट के अंदर स्टार लगा के यूज इन क्वेश्चन ऑन कल्चरल नेशनलिज्म, कल्चरल आइडेंटिटी और कल्चरल नेशनलिज्म. सो 1882 में कोई मूवमेंट नहीं चल रहा है, बट स्टिल यू सी what is this that he is giving? Mother India, idea of motherland, fatherland, Bande Mataram, right? Cultural nationalism तो चल ही रहा है ना. Political nationalism अलग है. Cultural nationalism तो स्वामी विवेकानंदा हुए, बंकिम हुए, स्वामी दयानंद सरस्वती, वो तो चला ही रहे हैं ना. ठीक है, तो मतलब यू नो कल्चरल आइडेंटिटी का भी पार्ट है. People say that Germany is my fatherland, right? This is my motherland, that is my fatherland, etc. What about India? So therefore a national identity that this is our motherland, this kind of scenario. Brackets closed, brackets closed. Next point, next sub point of extremist politics. Now extremists criticized, now extremists argued या criticized, कुछ भी लिख लो. Now extremists criticized moderate methods and constructive Swadeshi, moderate methods and constructive Swadeshi, moderate methods and constructive Swadeshi as not enough, as not enough, as not enough. कंस्ट्रक्टिव स्वदेशी भी चल रहा था. सो ब्रैकेट में साल लगा आप लिख सकते हैं. CW was also on since 1903. CW was also on since 1903. CW was also on since 1903. Example by Shanti Niketan Ashram. Example by Shanti Niketan Ashram. Example by Shanti Niketan Ashram of Rabindranath Tagore. Shanti Niketan Ashram of Rabindranath Tagore. Shanti Niketan Ashram 1901. Shanti Niketan Ashram 1901 of Rabindranath Tagore. Shanti Niketan Ashram 1901 of Rabindranath Tagore. Full stop. Had focus on self-reliance, that is Atma Shakti. Had focus on self-reliance, that is Atma Shakti. Via focus on Swadeshi, via focus on Swadeshi goods, via focus on Swadeshi goods, comma codes, courts, COURTS, Swadeshi goods, Swadeshi courts, comma education, Swadeshi education, and skilling, comma community unity, skilling, comma community unity, and spirituality, community unity and spirituality. Brackets closed. Brackets closed. But the extremists are saying you can continue constructive work, you can continue writing articles, but इससे कुछ होने नहीं वाला. So therefore, they are going to suggest the method of passive resistance, right? Full stop. Next point of extremist phase. Now they advocated, now they advocated, now they advocated method of passive resistance. Now they advocated method of passive resistance. In brackets डाला है PR. Now they advocated method of passive resistance. In brackets डाला लगा के PR is equal to NC plus CD. In brackets डाला लगा के PR is equal to NC plus CD. Brackets closed. Now they advocated method of PR, comma continuation of CW, comma continuation of CW, continuation of CW, and to take movement, and to take movement outside Bengal, and to take movement outside Bengal, and to take movement outside Bengal. ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा लिखिए, moderates didn't want movement outside Bengal. Moderates didn't want movement outside Bengal. Next subpoint of extremist phase. Extremists gave goal of Swaraj. Extremists gave goal of Swaraj. Therefore Swadeshi movement, therefore began Swadeshi movement. That was not limited to goal of annulment. That was not limited to goal of annulment of Bengal partition. That was not limited to goal of annulment of Bengal partition. That was not limited to goal of annulment of Bengal partition. That was not limited to goal of annulment of Bengal partition. Annulment of Bengal partition. Next point, methods / activities. Methods / activities. Methods / activities. There was use of religion. There was use of religion for mobilizing masses. There was use of religion for mobilizing masses. There was use of religion for mobilizing masses. Plus, samitis were set up for mass mobilization. Samitis, SAMITIS. Samitis were set up for mass mobilization. Samitis were set up for mass mobilization. And they also did CW. And they also did CW. And they also did CW / constructive Swadeshi. Constructive work को कई बार constructive Swadeshi भी कहा जाता है. They also did CW / constructive Swadeshi. They also did CW / constructive Swadeshi. Example, Swadesh Bandhab Samiti. Example, Swadesh Bandhab Samiti. Swadesh Bandhab Samiti. Bandhab Samiti / Barisal Samiti. / Barisal Samiti of Ashwini Kumar Dutt. Barisal Samiti of Ashwini Kumar Dutt. Barisal Samiti of Ashwini Kumar Dutt. Ashwini Kumar Dutt. That also worked among poor Muslim riots. That worked among poor Muslim riots. Therefore contributed to Muslim participation. That worked among poor Muslim riots. Therefore contributed to Muslim participation. Therefore contributed to Muslim participation. Contributed to Muslim participation. Plus, पिकेटिंग ऑफ लिकर शॉप्स, पॉकेट में आई लगा दो, पिकेट, पिकेटिंग ऑफ लिकर शॉप्स. पिकेटिंग इट मीन्स दैट यू आर नॉट अलाउिंग सेल ऑफ लिकर. आप दुकान के सामने खड़े हो गए, ठीक है, यू आर देयर इन द फ्रंट ऑफ द शॉप, नॉट टू बाय लिकर बट टू स्टॉप सेल ऑफ लिकर, राइट? दैट इज कॉल्ड पिकेटिंग ऑफ शॉप्स, पिकेटिंग ऑफ लिकर शॉप्स, पिकेटिंग ऑफ लिकर शॉप्स. And shops selling British goods, picketing of liquor shops and shops selling British goods, picketing of liquor shops and shops selling British goods. Next point, processions, plus processions, plus processions, मतलब ये भी एक मेथड ही है. प्रोसेशंस, प्रोसेशंस इन फॉर्म ऑफ, प्रोसेशंस इन फॉर्म ऑफ प्रभात फेरीज, प्रोसेशंस इन फॉर्म ऑफ प्रभात फेरीज, प्रभात फेरीज. प्रभात, बेसिकली पीपल यूज टू गैदर फॉर मॉर्निंग वर्शिप ऑफ मां काली, राइट? सो मॉर्निंग वर्शिप्स, and then people they will roam around in different parts in processions, raising slogans in favor of Swadeshi, right? Prabhat fairies, processions in form of Prabhat mane morning, fairies, right? So morning worships, uske baad fir processions, fairies mane processions. Plus jatras, plus jatras, plus jatras. Usually jatra, yatra, students they get confused that jatra means yatra, processions. Nahi, jatras they are a form of play, theater, right? So therefore theater, street plays, they will be held where awareness will be raised, right? So proper skit will be there, proper play will be there, where a person who is an elite Muslim, he will be present, shaking hands with the Britishers, right? And overall पूरा ऐसा डिपिक्ट करना, so that the common man is able to understand the divide and rule policies, the deep designs, that how this is going to hurt the Indian national movement, right, etc., etc. जो points हम लिख रहे हैं, in the form of a play to raise awareness among the common man. Jatras, that is plays, jatras, that is plays, jatras, that is plays to increase awareness, jatras, that is plays to increase awareness. ठीक, अब मुझे आप एक बात बताइए, आपको क्या कहते हैं? यू हैव टू डू बॉयकॉट, बॉयकॉट ऑफ द ब्रिटिश गुड्स. सो एंड प्लस यू वांट masses to participate. Two elements are there. One element it is of supply, another it is of demand. Supply and demand. You're trying to reduce the demand of the British goods by doing all of these things, awareness campaign, by starting the movement. Your goal is to decrease the demand, right? But there still will be people who will be going to the shops and still demanding British products. There will always be such people. Chances are there. ठीक है, मजबूरी भी हो सकती है किसी की, because the British goods they were also cheap. People are not very rich, right? Or maybe this is a first movement, so maybe our campaigns they are not reaching each and every nook and corner. So therefore, let us target the supply also. Supply of British goods. How do you target the supply of the British goods? By carrying on strikes in British owned factories in India, so that the production stops there. So that the production stops there. So therefore, strikes will be done by the workers, but not in Indian factories, because then you will hurt supply of Swadeshi goods. You don't want to hurt supplies of Swadeshi goods, you want to hurt supply of British goods, right? So therefore, British goods which are being imported, उनमें तो हम shops को picket कर रहे हैं और जनता को बोल रहे हैं, and domestically produced British owned goods, there we are asking the workers to go on a strike, right? So strikes will be held in the Swadeshi movement by the workers, परंतु not in Indian factories, because then तो you're hurting supply of Swadeshi goods. वो तो काउंटर प्रोडक्टिव हो जाएगा, राइट? सो राइट ऑन प्लस स्ट्राइक्स बाय वर्कर्स इन फॉरेन ओन्ड एंटरप्राइजेस. स्ट्राइक्स बाय वर्कर्स इन फॉरेन ओन्ड एंटरप्राइजेस. स्ट्राइक्स बाय वर्कर्स इन फॉरेन ओन्ड एंटरप्राइजेस. फॉरेन ओन्ड एंटरप्राइजेस इन इंडिया. मतलब ऑब्वियसली, मतलब कोई ये ना सोचे लंदन में स्ट्राइक करा दी ऐसे, ठीक? Led by C.R. Das, led by C.R. Das, comma BC Pal, CR Das, BC Pal, and Liaquat Hussain. CR Das, BC Pal, and Liaquat Hussain. And Liaquat Hussain. CR Das, Bipin Chandra Pal, BC Pal, and Liaquat Hussain. And Liaquat Hussain. So they are the ones who are leading the strikes in the foreign-owned enterprises, right? Asking the workers to not go to work. Plus Swadeshi education promoted. Swadeshi education promoted. Example, Bengal National College. Swadeshi education promoted. Example, Bengal National College. Set up. Bengal National College set up with Aurobindo as principal. Bengal National College set up with Aurobindo as principal. Plus Swadeshi enterprises. Enterprises माने factories. Soap, साबुन बनाना और चीजें बनाना. Swadeshi enterprises were set up. Chemicals बनाना. Swadeshi enterprises were set up. Plus Swadeshi enterprises were set up. Right? अच्छा. अब आफ्टर द ब्रेक विल राइट डाउन, बट यहां पे आपको मैं एक रफ ऐसा समझाने के लिए आसान थोड़ा सा हो जाता है. स्वदेशी मूवमेंट वॉज अ फेलियर. स्वदेशी मूवमेंट वॉज अ फेलियर. एज सिंपल एज दैट. Why it was a failure? To tell that you are a success or a failure, some yardstick should be there, right? So one yardstick, it is of goal. Swadeshi movement by the extremists was a failure. This movement is coming to an end in 1908. From 1908 to revolutionaries, they will carry on. In 1908, do we achieve Swaraj? Answer is no. In 1908, does the Bengal partition is annulled? Answer is no. So that means we are not able to achieve the goal. As simple as that. But goal is not the only metric. If goal had been the metric, so everyone would have agreed that Mahatma Gandhi was a grand failure. Right? Goal is not the metric. Immediate achievement of goal. There is something else. The real goal is also Indian national movement. That is, the real goal is also making the masses participate in anti-British struggle. Right? So wahan pe we need to find out that how much successful we were. So for example, with respect to the biggest failure of the extremists is that failed to build a mass movement. क्या है failure? पहले तो मैं failure ही पता होना चाहिए. They failed to start a mass movement or they failed to build mass movement. But आप कहेंगे sir, so many activities are taking place. Yes, movement is taking place. When do you call a movement a mass movement? You call a movement a mass movement when all the different sections of the society they participate in good numbers. तब आप कहोगे मास मूवमेंट तो हो रहा है. स्वदेशी मूवमेंट तो है ही, वो तो हमारा टॉपिक ही है स्वदेशी मूवमेंट. हम क्या कह रहे हैं? फेल टू बिल्ड मास मूवमेंट, नॉट मूवमेंट, मास मूवमेंट. राइट? एंड ये सब क्यों हुआ? फॉर एग्जाम्पल, actually Swadeshi goods, they were expensive, and as a result the poor sections of the society, they could not, even when they wanted to, they could not participate. Why? Because supply demand ka मामला है. Industrialization of India has not taken place. Already we have seen the drain theory. Indian factory owners are very far and few, so they're obviously saying that boycott the British goods is easy, but then there will be shortage of supply of Indian goods because Indian factories इतनी तो है नहीं. So all of us are out there in front of the shop waiting. खरीदेंगे सामान, but अंग्रेजी सामान नहीं खरीदेंगे, सिर्फ इंडियन सामान खरीदेंगे. We'll buy only Indian products. And the other person is saying कि यार Indian products are not there. जो थे बिक गए, सुबह बिक गए. Right? So and plus prices will be high because more number of people are searching for or they are chasing limited number of products. So prices are going to be high. Right? So therefore, because prices were high, therefore the poor people, they were not able to participate in boycott of British goods. Right? And these poor people are lower caste people. These poor people are Muslims. These poor people are factory workers, especially the blue collar workers who work at the shop floor level. These people, they are, for example, peasants. They are poor. And if lower caste peasants blue collar workers, Muslims, if they are not participating, masses are already out of the equation, my friend. Poor are the masses. Poor are the masses, right? And that is the reason because of which import of British goods was not affected. कोई ज़्यादा खास फर्क नहीं पड़ा on import of British goods into India. Second component was also, for example, Muslims, they did not participate. Why they did not participate? Two reasons were there. One reason is of related to poverty. In Bengal, most of the Muslims, they were tenant ryots because permanent settlement is there. So Hindus were zamindars, whereas Muslim were usually tenant ryots, and obviously they are poor. Second component that comes into operation is that the elite Muslims, they got in touch with ulamas, Maulvis, who controlled anjumans. Anjumans are the local Muslim gatherings, who controlled the mosques, and they contacted them and they co-opted them. उनको बोला कि देखो, we are elite Muslims, we do not have any presence among the common Muslim man. You guys have presence among the common Muslim man. Tell them not to become part of Swadeshi movement. Tell them that creation of East Bengal and Assam कौम के फेवर में रहेगा. So therefore, an alliance was there between the elite Muslims and the ulamas. And this also hurt the participation of the Muslims. Third component was high use of religion. So at this particular point of time, religion was gaining strength. Why? Because we have seen post 1857 greater criticism of the Indian civilization resulted in greater rise of orthodox Hindus. Bal Gangadhar Tilak was a leader of orthodox Hindus. Bal Gangadhar Tilak opposed the age of consent bill. Right? Bal Gangadhar Tilak was trying to use the religious energy because masses are religious. So at this particular point of time, masses, they are more religious. Modern nationalism अभी उनके अंदर उतना strong नहीं है. So if I am a leader, I will to energize you. Plus also कुछ नहीं पता शाम को वापस आऊंगा नहीं आऊंगा. Maybe the Britishers, they will fire at me. Maybe the Britishers, they will do brutal lathi charge at me. I will be alive or not. So therefore, भाई माँ काली शक्ति दे. ठीक, obviously religion helps a lot. Otherwise, मतलब दो ही चीजें हैं, देशभक्ति और रिलीजन. एंड तीसरी चीज कि उस मूवमेंट बस जान बचानी होती है. दिस इज हाउ द सोल्जर्स दे वर्क. वरना अदरवाइज हाउ विल व्हाई विल दिस काइंड ऑफ martyrdom will take place, right? So therefore, belief in God, this kind of scenario, it provided lots of courage. Munda uprising. Tribals, they came to believe that Birsa Munda has supernatural powers. People of India, they also believe that Mahatma Gandhi, when bullets are fired at him, they become water. Right? So religion, it provides courage. Right? So therefore, a lot of religious symbolism was used. टीका लगाया जाएगा, राखी बांधी जाएगी, प्रण लिया जाएगा अग्नि के ऊपर. So therefore, when a common average Muslim man was watching, he felt that this is a Hindu movement. Right? And he felt a little dissociated. Why? Because extra Hindu religion was used. Right? So high religion. Another was jatras. So in many of the cases, jatras, they depicted the Muslims as hands in glove, as partners of the Britishers. And therefore, if you are a Muslim person who is watching this play, you will feel dissociated. You're like, because you are a common Muslim man. You're like, yaar, मैं तो ऐसा कुछ करनी है, मैं ही villain हूँ इसमें. I am the villain. Plus communal riots also took place. Communal riots also took place after jatras, etc. Right? So therefore, jatras, they also depicted Muslims as villain, and that also had a negative impact on the participation of the Muslims in the Swadeshi movement. Right? So Muslims also participated relatively less. Right? So because of these factors, the movement, it could not become this thing. Also lower caste, most of the leadership was of upper castes. So therefore lower caste, they could not associate कि यार अपना कोई आदमी दिख नहीं रहा वहां. Right, this kind of scenario. So therefore, it could not become a mass movement. And the biggest reason was that these people, extremists, they focused on capturing the INC. उनके लिए ये मूवमेंट तो अलग थी. सब जानते थे कि स्वराज नहीं मिलेगा. That you will not be able to get स्वराज. First attempt है. ठीक. So therefore, but this was a movement for them to capture INC, to change the INC for the future from a moderate party to an extremist party. and they devoted much more energy to capturing the INC. Right? So that's why the movement failed. Right? We'll see. एक और चीज क्या हुआ फेलियर में? ब्रिटिश का डिवाइड एंड रूल. Morley's budget speech of 1906. So Morley, he was the Secretary of State in 1906, and he gave a budget speech, right? India's budget, and he is giving speech, whereby he hinted, he is speaking in British Parliament, whereby he hinted that in near term we are going to have some council reforms. Indian Councils Act 1909 came, Morley Minto reforms 1909. So he hinted that we are about to bring reforms. As soon as he hinted that they are about to bring reforms, the Bombay moderates, उनके यहाँ से राल टपकने लगी. Saliva started coming out of the mouth of Bombay moderates and other moderates. They're like, we failed in first attempt, which we gave after 30 years in 1892. है ना, IC 1861, we failed in first attempt 1892. Maybe now in second attempt, because of this Swadeshi movement, etc., or because of this Bengal partition gussa, maybe the Britishers, they will give us share in power. They'll make us MLA, they'll make us MP. अपन तेरा बेटा मिनिस्टर बनेगा माँ. Whole life I have studied. I could not go to London to become IAS. Right, because exam was not being held in India, but कोई नहीं, ब्यूरोक्रेट के ऊपर जाके बैठेगा तेरा बेटा, ठीक, I'll become minister, right? ऐसा मतलब ड्रीम कि now power is going to come, and then they look at ये सेम वही वेस्टर्न एजुकेटेड व्यक्ति है जो 1857 में भी कुछ ऐसा ही सोच रहा था. He was thinking like this in 1857. In 1857, he looked at the common poor man of India, the Hindus and Muslims. Right? And he hated them like anything. That these people are going to make my plan chopper by doing all of these violence. Uneducated. Bloody uneducated. Right? And again in 1906, this very same Western educated person is again looking at the extremists. That these extremists, they want to get control of INC, and that's why they are again using that common man. That common man which is so prone to violence. ये emergency लगवाएगा. And emergency is opposite of liberalism. Emergency में you take away power from the Indians. तो Britishers एक तो कह रहे हैं that they are ready to give power to the Indians. Morley's budget speech. If extremist politics continues, instead of getting more powers, emergency और लग जाएगी. ये सारा plan. The Britishers, they were giving us, they were on part to give us power. But 1857 revolt took place. सारा game चौपट हो गया. UPSC attempt देने का सारा गेम चौपट हो गया. Similarly, now again we are on the verge, on the cusp of getting power, and this violence on the streets सारा गेम चौपट कर देगा. Right? So therefore they were like this thing. तो 1906 तो Calcutta session हुआ. There the Bombay moderates are again quiet, looking at you guys like anything. Right? You are extremists, and you guys are shouting slogans. अमार सोनार बांग्ला, अमार सोनार बांग्ला, कर लो, ठीक. So crowds are there in the INC Calcutta session. Passions are running high in the INC Calcutta session. You, the online students, the extremists, they proposed that let the goal of INC be Swaraj. Let there be support to boycott. Let there be support to national education. Let there be support to Swadeshi goods, etc. by INC. एंड इतना शोर मचा हुआ है. बॉम्बे मॉडरेट्स बेचारे डरे हुए हैं. कर लो. राइट. सो फाइन. INC Calcutta session 1906. 4 Calcutta resolutions they are able to pass in favor of Swadeshi, boycott, national education, etc. ठीक है. But in 1907 they ensure कि next time we do not want these people to have this kind of गुंडागर्दी. Why? Because I am moderate. I do not have public support. तुम गुंडे टाइप का आदमी हो, एक्सट्रीमिस्ट. तुम ले आते हो 10 लोग उठा के, तुम्हारा नाराबाजी करने लग जाता है, माहौल सारा तुम्हारे फेवर में हो जाता है. ठीक. हाँ, बंदूकों वाले भी हो. ठीक. तो एनीवेज, सो नाउ नेक्स्ट सेशन में देखेंगे तुमको. नेक्स्ट सेशन वाज टू टेक प्लेस इन महाराष्ट्र. इट वाज टू टेक प्लेस इन पूना और नागपुर. Pune और नागपुर, they were bastions or strongholds of extremists. Therefore, Bombay moderates thought कि दोबारा Pune और नागपुर session will take place. Again, huge crowds will come. shouting Tilak, 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 right? कह रहे ये नहीं करना. Gujarat is also part of Maharashtra, Bombay presidency. So session they decide, because they were the ones who controlled the positions in INC. So they ensured that the session takes place in Surat. And in Surat, these extremists, they were not popular. Uneven growth of Western education had led to uneven growth of nationalism. So obviously, Marathis benefited more than Gujaratis, right? So in Gujarat, utna spirit of modern nationalism was not there. Extremist leaders, they were not famous in Gujarat. So that's why in Surat, session was held, so that crowds are not there who can build the mahal in favor of extremists. And in this Surat session, the extremists, they again argued, right, that this time president should be from extremists. उनका प्लान चल रहा था पार्टी को कब्जा करने का, right? They proposed Lala Lajpat Rai should be the president. The moderates, they proposed that Rash Bihari Ghosh should be the president. He was a moderate. Fighting took place on this. Lala Lajpat Rai did not want a split in the Congress, so therefore he backed down. Right? कि चलो ठीक है, I'm not standing for election. However, one of our demand is that the four Calcutta resolutions which were there on Swaraj, boycott, Swadeshi, national education, right? These four Calcutta resolutions should be readopted, ताकि INC कम से कम becomes extremist in terms of method of boycott, method of promotion of Swadeshi, right? Fighting took place on this also. That day, my friends, moderates forgot उनका अंदर का असली अब तो कितने टाइम तक करेगा, yes I am here, yes I am there, right? कभी ना कभी तो रियल निकल के आएगा ही, है ना? रियल निकल के आएगा जब इतनी गर्मी लग रही है? क्या बे यार, हो गया बहुत देर है, देर, हाँ ठीक है. अब क्या होगा? नाउ जूत पुजारू है वहां. मॉडरेट्स उस दिन बस मॉडरेट नहीं थे, डेफिनेटली. शूज वर थ्रोन, चेयर्स वर ब्रोकन, पटापट पटापट, भटाभट बटाभट, चप्पल पे चप्पल, ठीक है. इमेजिन बिग लीडर्स, राइट, तिलक एटसेट्रा टेकिंग चप्पल आउट, पटाक. आई एम प्रीटी श्योर फिरोज शाह मेहता, ठीक है, उसको तो जबरदस्ती लगे कुछ अच्छे वाले, because Mehta became one of the, Firoz Shah Mehta was the ardent opposer of the extremists, right? तो मतलब उस दिन सब सोफिस्टिकेशन निकल गया मॉडरेट्स का भी, ठीक है. चप्पल निकाल के, जूते मार के, ठीक है, किसी गंजी टांट पे पटाक पटाक, राइट, ऐसा चल रहा है, ठीक. दैट इज सूरत स्प्लिट 1907. And after this, the moderates, they decide that extremists, they will be thrown out of the Congress, their membership will be taken away. And therefore, this is how British divide and rule tactic became success. Morley's budget speech of 1906 became grand success, and now you are divided. And dekho, today you are not part of any political party. Just in case if you are beaten up by 10 people outside, no one will care. But if you are part of some political party, Twitter trend will start. Why? Because you are not just, what is your name? You are not just Ankit who has been beaten up. Now you are Ankit, member of XYZ political party who has been beaten up. है ना? तो when you are part of party, एक brand का protection होता है, legitimacy. है ना? Now you are no more part of the party. So now the police started cracking down upon the extremists. Therefore the movement, Swadeshi movement, became leaderless. Therefore now a leaderless movement कहाँ जाएगी? A driverless गाड़ी कहाँ जाएगी? थोड़ी देर में जाके फुटपाथ पे बढ़ जाएगी. So therefore that is a kind of, तेरे पास टेस्ला है तो मैं क्या करूं? ठीक, हम तो नॉर्मल चलाते हैं, ड्राइवरलेस होती है तो वो बढ़ जाती है, राइट? उस प्रकार से दिस काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो. सो दिस इज हाउ योर 1905 to 1908 the attempt at mass politics became a failure. British divide and rule, internal divisions between moderates and extremists, and all of these other factors, they played a role in failure of the movement by extremists. And after this, now the masses, they are leaderless. So now the revolutionaries, they will rise and they will win time, right? This kind of scenario. So we'll meet after 10 minutes and we will continue. Check my check. So write down. Next point. result extremist phase, result extremist phase, result extremist phase. बट हमने उनको इलेबोरेट किया कि एग्जैक्टली बॉयकॉट में क्या क्या करना है ना. सो राइट डाउन INC Calcutta session 1906, INC Calcutta session 1906, INC Calcutta session 1906 under Dadabhai Nauroji, under Dadabhai Nauroji. Dash respected by both extremists and moderates, dash respected by both extremists and moderates. Dash first subpoint, extremists successful, extremists successful as INC passed 4 Calcutta resolutions, as INC passed 4 Calcutta resolutions favoring Swaraj, favoring Swaraj, comma boycott, favoring Swaraj, comma boycott, comma Swadeshi, Swaraj, comma boycott, comma Swadeshi, and national education, and national education, and national education. How to remember the 4 Calcutta resolution? Bracket में स्टार लगा के लिखिए 1 goal, comma 3 methods, 1 goal, comma 3 methods. तो एक गोल है स्वराज का और बाकी आप तीनों देखेंगे बॉयकॉट, स्वदेशी, एक ही सिक्के के दो पहलू हैं, एंड नेशनल एजुकेशन, वो भी स्वदेशी एजुकेशन, वो भी एक तरीके से इट इज पार्ट ऑफ स्वदेशी, बट एक्स्ट्रा फोकस इज बीइंग गिवन बिकॉज ऑफ औरबिंदो एंड अदर्स, सो देयरफॉर दैट्स व्हाई मेंशन्ड सेपरेटली. So one goal is there, Swaraj, and 3 methods are there: Swadeshi, boycotts, national education. Right? So bracket में स्टार लगा के 1 goal, 3 methods, brackets closed. Second sub point: Bengal partition was condemned. Bengal partition was condemned. So technically, prelims के हिसाब से याद रखिएगा, Bengal partition was not part of 4 Calcutta resolutions. Bengal partition was not Bengal partition was not part of 4 Calcutta resolutions. 4 Calcutta resolutions were for INC. That what is the goal of INC and what is the method of INC? What is the goal of INC and what is the method of INC? Goal of INC now overall is Swaraj, and methods that INC would follow to achieve that Swaraj is Swadeshi, boycott, and national education. Bengal partition was separately condemned as part of INC Calcutta session. वो 4 resolutions का part नहीं था prelims के हिसाब से, ध्यान रखिएगा. इस वजह से मैं भी आपको as a separate point लिखवा रहा हूं. Bengal partition was condemned. Third sub point: extremist party slash nationalist party, extremist party slash nationalist party set up under Tilak, set up under Tilak. Extremist party slash nationalist party set up under Tilak within INC, within INC, with goal of changing INC from within, with goal of making INC extremist from within, with goal of making INC extremist from within, with goal of making INC extremist from within. So what is the idea? Right now in the decision making, moderates are there. So within INC, let us form a party. At that time it was allowed. Within a party there can be a party, right? So let us form an extremist party. Over a period of time, let's say this is the extremist party. So we are much more in number, we are moderates. They are extremists. Right now that is the situation. Hope these guys are having is that over a period of time, we guys, either we will retire and when the new members come, they will sit on those chairs of extremists rather than these chairs of moderates, right? Or some among us will gradually move towards them, and therefore then when elections take place for general secretary post and other posts of the INC, then these people, they will be victorious. So therefore over a period of time they will change INC from within, right? So this extremist party, or garam dal bhi isko bola jata tha, it is being set up within the INC for the purpose of changing the INC from moderate to extremist from within, right? ठीक है. Second point, to change from within, from within. Next point, however, extremists failed to start proper mass movement. Extremists failed to build a mass movement. However, extremists failed to build a mass movement. However, extremists failed to build a mass movement. As first subpoint. Problem of supply of Swadeshi goods. Problem of supply of Swadeshi goods. Therefore, prices were high. Problem of supply for Swadeshi goods. Therefore, prices were high. Therefore, low participation of poor sections. Therefore, low participation of poor sections. That is lower castes. Low participation of poor sections, that is lower castes, comma Muslims, lower caste, comma Muslims, comma peasants, and blue collar workers, comma peasants and blue collar workers. Second subpoint, low number of Swadeshi institutions. Money, education institutions, arbitration courts, low number of Swadeshi institutions. Next point, use of force and social boycott. Against lower castes and Muslims. Use of force and social boycott against lower castes and Muslims to make them participate. Hurt participation. Hurt participation. HURT, hurt participation. Next point, Muslim League 1906. Muslim League 1906 in brackets ML 1906. Muslim League 1906 in brackets ML 1906 of elite Muslims. Example, Nawab Salimullah of Dhaka. So अब तो नाम के नवाब है. Nawab Salimullah of Dhaka. Dhaka माने ढाका. Supported partition. Plus ML 1906. sought support of ulamas, SOUGST, sought support of ulamas, who controlled rural masses, sought support of ulamas, who controlled rural masses, who controlled rural masses, plus high use of Hindu religious symbolism, plus high use of Hindu religious symbolism, plus high use of Hindu religious symbolism. Example, tilaks. High use of Hindu religious symbolism. Example, tilaks, applying tilaks. Tilaks, comma, worshipping Kali, worshipping Kali. Tilaks, comma, worshipping Kali, etc. Tilaks, worshipping Kali, etc. Worshipping Kali, etc. Plus jatras depicted Muslims. Jatras depicted Muslims as pro-British and favoring partition. Jatras depicted Muslims as pro-British and favoring partition. Pro-British and favoring partition. Leading to communal violence. Leading to communal violence. Dash, these features hurt Muslim participation. Dash, these features hurt Muslim participation. These features hurt Muslim participation. Next up point, high caste leadership. High caste leadership. Therefore, lower castes didn't associate. High caste leadership, therefore, lower castes didn't associate. High caste leadership, therefore, lower castes didn't associate. Next point, therefore, boycott failed. Therefore, boycott failed. And British imports were not impacted. Therefore, boycott failed and British imports were not impacted. Therefore, boycott failed and British imports were not impacted. Not impacted. Next point, Surat split 1907. Surat split 1907. This is continuation of reasons for failure of extremist phase or result of extremist phase. Surat split 1907. Surat split 1907 dash, first sub point. Bombay moderates opposed to extremist methods. Bombay moderates opposed to extremist methods. Bombay moderates opposed to extremist methods. क्या है एक्सट्रीमिस्ट मेथड? पैसिव रेजिस्टेंस है ना, बॉयकॉट, नॉन कोऑपरेशन, सिविल डिसोबीडियंस. सेकंड सब पॉइंट, in 1907 session was to be held. In 1907 session was to be held in Pune or Nagpur. In 1907 session was to be held in Pune or Nagpur, comma, both strongholds, Pune or Nagpur, comma, both strongholds of extremists, comma, both strongholds of extremists. Therefore, moderates shifted venue to Surat, comma, both strongholds of extremists. Therefore, moderates shifted venue to Surat. Next up point, fight over presidency. Fight over presidency. Fight over presidency between LL Rai. Fight over presidency between LL Rai and Rash Bihari Ghosh. Rash Bihari Ghosh. Bihari Ghosh. रास बिहारी घोष, फुल स्टॉप. Lala withdrew, Lala withdrew, LL Rai, Lala withdrew to prevent split. Rash Bihari Ghosh, full stop. Lala withdrew to prevent split. But now extremists demanded, re-adoption. But now extremists demanded re-adoption of 4 Calcutta resolutions. Re-adoption of 4 Calcutta resolutions. 4 Calcutta resolutions. Full stop. Next point. Morley's budget speech. Morley was Secretary of State. Morley's budget speech 1906 in British Parliament. Morley's budget speech 1906. इतना ही लिख. Morley's budget speech 1906 had hinted at future council reforms. Morley's budget speech 1906 had hinted at future council reforms. Therefore, a DNR tactic, therefore, a divide and rule tactic, therefore, a DNR tactic, divide and rule tactic, was deployed by British, making moderates oppose extremists. Was deployed by British, making moderates oppose extremists. Making moderates oppose extremists. Next point. Now shoes were hurled and chairs broken. Now shoes were hurled. HURLED. Shoes were hurled and chairs broken. Now shoes were hurled and chairs broken. Over issue of presidency and 4 Calcutta resolutions. Now shoes were hurled and chairs broken over issue of presidency and 4 Calcutta resolutions. 4 Calcutta resolutions. Leading to split and removal of extremists. Leading to split and removal of extremists from INC. Leading to split and removal of extremists from INC. Removal of extremists from INC. Next point. 1908 Allahabad Convention. 1908 Allahabad Convention. Allahabad Convention. Allahabad Convention. ब्रैकेट स्टार लिखिए, स्टार लगा के सेशन इन दिसंबर. स्पेशल सेशन is equal to full session. Special session is equal to full session, but full session when emergency. Therefore not in December. Therefore not in December. Convention is not a full session. Convention is like a smaller meeting. Smaller meeting. Smaller meeting. So regular sessions of INC, they took place in December every year. Special sessions when something is urgent, but a full session takes place. Convention, it's like a smaller meeting. So in prelims, do not think that this is 1908 Allahabad session. This is 1908 Allahabad Convention. 1908 Allahabad Convention. So it is a smaller meeting. Also known as मेहता कांग्रेस. मेहता वही फिरोज शाह मेहता, पक्का पिटे थे मुझे लगता है ये. ऑल्सो नोन एज मेहता कांग्रेस. इनकी दाल देखो कितनी टपक रही है, शर्ट गीली हो गई इनकी. हाँ हाँ देखो, मेहता कांग्रेस, ऑल्सो नोन एज मेहता कांग्रेस, दिस कन्वेंशन इज ऑल्सो नोन एज मेहता कांग्रेस, वेयर आईएनसी डिक्लेयर्ड, वेयर आईएनसी डिक्लेयर्ड, कोर्ट्स में लिखिए, वेयर आईएनसी डिक्लेयर्ड वी आर लॉयल टू द राज, वी आर लॉयल टू द राज, कितनी तेजी थी डिक्लेयर करनी, वी आर लॉयल टू द राज, वेयर आईएनसी डिक्लेयर्ड वी आर लॉयल टू द राज, अनकोट, full stop. INC remained divided until 1920. INC remained divided until 1920 between moderates and extremists. INC remained divided until 1920 between moderates and extremists when MG united them. When MG united them. When MG united them. हमने क्या लिखा है सेंटेंस? INC remained divided between moderates and extremists. अब INC will remain divided between moderates and extremists when moderates and extremists are both part of INC. तभी तो will remain divided between moderates and extremists. हम दोनों को होना पड़ेगा ना पार्ट ऑफ INC. और जब एक्सट्रीमिस्ट पार्ट ऑफ INC नहीं है, ठीक है, तब कैसे रहेंगे डिवाइडेड? सो हाँ, 1916 में री एंट्री ऑफ एक्सट्रीमिस्ट हो गया था, बट दिल थोड़ी मिले थे. अगेन वी आर डिवाइडेड, बट दिल किसने मिलाए? बापू ने. ठीक. INC रिमेन डिवाइडेड बिटवीन मॉडरेट्स एंड एक्सट्रीमिस्ट्स अंटिल, देखिए शब्दों का खिलाफ ने बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट सवाल पूछा है. आप इंग्लिश को देखिए, हमें कोई बहुत ज्यादा ग्रेट इंग्लिश होने का जरूरत नहीं है, बट हम अगर माइक्रोस्कोप लेके लेंस लेके सिंपल तरीके से देखते हैं, INC रिमेन डिवाइडेड बिटवीन मॉडरेट्स एंड एक्सट्रीमिस्ट. अब ये डिवीजन तो सिर्फ तभी हो सकता है ना जब एक्सट्रीमिस्ट पार्ट हो INC के. जब एक्सट्रीमिस्ट अभी फिलहाल, तो ऑटोमेटिकली ऐसा समझ में आना चाहिए कि कहीं ना कहीं 1920 और 1907 के बीच में एक्सट्रीमिस्ट को रीएंट्री मिली होगी, तभी INC कैन बी डिवाइडेड बिटवीन मॉडरेट्स एंड एक्सट्रीमिस्ट. A house is divided between A and B. A and B have to be part of the house. So yes, in 1916, re-entry of extremists did take place, but still they are divided from each other, not united with each other in terms of their methods and how INC should function. ठीक है ना? तो वो हम डिस्कस करेंगे re-entry कैसे हुई. Next point. Movement became leaderless. Movement became leaderless. Movement became leaderless. As now, movement became leaderless. As now, extremists were easily, as now extremists were easily repressed. Extremists were easily repressed. Extremists were easily repressed by British. Extremists were easily repressed by British, leading to revolutionary activity, leading to revolutionaries taking charge, leading to revolutionaries taking charge, leading to revolutionaries taking charge, leading to revolutionaries taking charge. In brackets 1908-11. In brackets 1908-11. Revolutionaries taking charge in brackets 1908-11. See, they will become active even before 1908. They'll start saying things even before. But charge में hero कब आ रहे हैं? 1908 onwards. Now, next write down the heading. Revolutionaries. 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 In brackets 1908-11. Revolutionaries in brackets 1908-11. अब देखिए रेवोल्यूशनरीज के सामने दो मूवमेंट्स हैं. देखिए रेवोल्यूशनरीज दे आर नॉट वेरी बिग पीपल, दे आर नॉट वेरी फेमस पीपल, राइट, दैट दे विल कम आउट ऑन द स्ट्रीट दैट ओके बाल गंगाधर तिलक हैज बीन अरेस्टेड एटसेट्रा एटसेट्रा, वो सब डिस्कस करेंगे. दे आर नॉट बिग पीपल दैट दे विल कम आउट ऑन द स्ट्रीट एंड द मासेस दे विल स्टार्ट फॉलोइंग देम. दे आर नॉट बिग पीपल, राइट. सो व्हाट ऑप्शन डू दे हैव? ऑप्शन इज कि ठीक है फाइन, एटलीस्ट मैं तो अपने आप को सेक्रीफाइस कर सकता हूं, एटलीस्ट आई कैन सेक्रीफाइस. ऐसे मैं तो तिलक नहीं हूं कि इफ आई सिट ऑन अ फास्ट एंड टू डेथ देन मासेस विल गेट इंस्पायर्ड. मैं छोटा व्यक्ति हूं, राइट, एंड इफ आई डाई, राइट, फॉर माय कंट्री, probably then the masses will get inspired, right? So options are what? Options are A, revolutionaries they always believed that if we are able to repeat 1857 revolt, 1857 revolt is equal to civil rebellion plus Sepoy mutiny. If we are able to repeat 1857 revolt, then we'll be able to get independence. Because in 1857 also, we nearly removed the Britishers. But this is a tough task. Right now, we do not know how to penetrate the sepoys, army, etc., etc. Second option that we have is individual heroic action. That is, हम कहीं से बस कोई गन जुगाड़ते हैं, let us find some weapon and let us assassinate those British officials who everyone hates. Those British officials who are responsible for mass atrocities. इससे दो चीजें होंगी. A, there will be fear in the heart of the Britishers. They चलते हुए 10 जगह देखते चलेंगे. ठीक, there will be fear in their heart. And second, there will be removal of the fear of the British from the hearts of the Indians. क्या पता ऐसा भी हो जाए कि some Britisher is getting, you know, his shaving done, ठीक है, और उसके बाद जो बार्बर मतलब he is, you know, screams on the barber and the barber में से कि you know yesterday some British official got killed. मैं तो बस बता रहा हूँ ऐसे. और सर कहाँ से कट लगाना, कहाँ कट लगाऊं, राइट सर. तो ऐसा मतलब ऐसा कौन, तो रिमूव द फियर, ऐसा मतलब मजा करो, रिमूव द फियर फ्रॉम द हार्ट ऑफ द इंडियंस. तो दोनों चीज रहेगा. एंड रीगेन आवर मैनहुड, दिस काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो. सो दिस वन वाज चोजन एज द इमीडिएट पाथ एंड द फर्स्ट वन वाज चोजन एज अ लॉन्ग टर्म गोल. माने कि रिपीटिंग 1857 रिवोल्ट विल बी लॉन्ग टर्म गोल ऑफ रेवोल्यूशनरीज. राइट नाउ क्या करें, राइट नाउ तो यही कर सकते हैं हम, इंडिविजुअल हीरोइक एक्शन विद आवर सेक्रीफाइस, राइट, बाय assassinating the hated British officials, right? So write down, after movement became leaderless, full stop, मतलब dash after leader, after मतलब वो continue हो गया. revolutionary phase after movement became leaderless. First sub point, they had two options. They माने revolutionaries had two options. Dash, start a popular mass revolt, slash civil rebellion, start a popular mass revolt slash civil rebellion, and cause disaffection in army, and cause disaffection, dis affection, cause disaffection in army, slash sepoy mutiny, that is repeat 1857 revolt, that is repeat 1857 revolt, that is repeat 1857 revolt, or individual heroic action, or individual heroic action, or individual heroic action by assassinating, individual heroic action by assassinating hated senior British officials, assassinating hated senior British officials, to inspire nationalism, comma, remove fear of British and strike terror, inspire nationalism, comma, remove fear of British and strike terror in hearts of British, and strike terror in hearts of British, and strike terror in hearts of British. गौरीशंकर इज आस्किंग, वॉज नेताजी बोस एंड भगत सिंह सेम रेवोल्यूशनरी? क्या बातें कर रहे हो तुम, क्या कुछ त्रिपाठी जी क्या कर रहे हो आप? नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस अलग व्यक्ति हैं, भगत सिंह अलग व्यक्ति हैं, क्या कहना चाह रहे हो? सक्षम is saying Raj Bihari Ghosh was a revolutionary or moderate? He was a moderate, obviously he was a moderate. Raj Bihari Bose was an extremist, right? Why some parts of India are not having any nationalist movement while some parts are pulled by the movements? As I told you, Western education. Uneven growth of Western education led to uneven growth of Indian national movement, right? Modern nationalism was a product of Western education. Next point, since first was tough, it was chosen as long-term goal. Since first was tough, It was chosen as long-term goal. Chosen as long-term goal. And second was chosen as immediate method. And second was chosen as immediate method. Gagan is asking, moderates did not want to move outside Bengal, yes, but they were part of INC, हाँ. And goal of INC was All India Movement, हाँ, in 1906. In 1906, right? With respect to this thing, All India Nationalism Awareness. These are, how do they sound contradictory? When we are part of a room, you might agree to something, we don't agree to something. In 1906, the emotions are high, you get defeated, we are victorious. In 1906, INC adopts goal as Swaraj and methods as all of these things. Next session you bounce back and you do not adopt the rest of the methods, right? तो contradictory क्या है? डेमोक्रेसी है उसमें, आज आप स्ट्रॉन्ग हो कल आप वीक हो, तो चलता रहता है, ठीक है, उस प्रकार से. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, therefore from 1905, नहीं therefore काट दो, from 1905 revolutionaries did propaganda in newspapers. From 1905 revolutionaries did propaganda in newspapers in favor of revolutionary methods, in favor of revolutionary methods, in favor of revolutionary methods. Example, weekly Yugantar. Example, weekly Yugantar wrote. Example, weekly Yugantar wrote after repression of. Weekly Yugantar wrote after repression of Barisal Conference. Example, weekly Yugantar wrote after repression of Barisal Conference 1906. April 1906. Example, weekly Yugantar wrote after repression of Barisal Conference April 1906. Barisal Conference April 1906, जहां पे बैजेस ऑफ बंदे मातरम आर बीइंग डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड बाय अरविंदो एंड सुरेंद्र बनर्जी. क्या लिखा इन्होंने? कोट, 30 crore Indians should raise their 60 crore hands. 30 crore Indians should raise their 60 crore hands to end oppression. 30 crore Indians should raise their 60 crore hands to end oppression. To end oppression. Unquote. To end oppression. Unquote. 30 crore Indians should raise their 60 crore hands to end oppression. Quote बंद हो गए. Next point. Some revolutionaries like Veer Savarkar and Madam Kama. Some revolutionaries like Veer Savarkar and Madam Kama set up secret societies abroad. 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 Next point, 1907 attempt on life of 1907 attempt on life of LG Bengal. Attempt on life of LG Bengal dash failed. Attempt on life of LG Bengal dash failed. Next point, 1908 Barra dacoity. Barra dacoity dash Barra dacoity. 1908 dash Barra dacoity dash looted Zamidar of Barra. Looted Zamidar of Barra. Looted Zamidar of Barra for funds. For funds. Obviously, you'll need money to smuggle weapons, etc., to buy weapons from the black market, right? तो उसके लिए डकैतीज भी करनी जरूरी है. Next point, 1908 1908 मुजफ्फरपुर कॉन्स्पिरेसी केस 1908 मुजफ्फरपुर कॉन्स्पिरेसी केस मुजफ्फरपुर कॉन्स्पिरेसी केस मुजफ्फरपुर कॉन्स्पिरेसी केस डैश प्रफुल्ल चाकी एंड खुदीराम बोस प्रफुल्ल चाकी एंड खुदीराम बोस प्रफुल्ल चाकी एंड खुदीराम बोस through bomb at carriage of hated magistrate Kingsford through bomb at carriage of Kingsford magistrate Kingsford बच गया magistrate Kingsford but failed and instead two English women were killed but failed and instead two English women were killed full stop. This led to many arrests including of Aurobindo Ghosh in Alipore 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 which came to be known as Alipore conspiracy case 1908 Alipore conspiracy case 1908 So actually Prafulla Chaki and Khudiram Bose, they were teenagers, right? Khudiram Bose, he ate cyanide and on the spot he committed suicide. That is कि अंग्रेजों से पकड़े नहीं जाना है. And Khudiram and your Prafulla Chaki, when he was facing trial, he was smiling and he was like, हाँ मैंने ही कोशिश करी थी. ठीक है. So मतलब basically you have to show fearlessness, your total conviction, right? So this was the kind of thing. The sacrifice was there, right? Now the Britishers, they realized that these are small players. Who is the real mastermind? And therefore they collected intelligence, raided Alipore, and in Alipore there is a place called Maniktola, right? So from there Aurobindo Ghosh and many others, they were arrested. So these were the masterminds, right? So in the Alipore conspiracy case किसी ने कुछ करा नहीं है, but it is a product of Muzaffarpur conspiracy case, right? In the trials C.R. Das, he defended Aurobindo Ghosh. He fought the case of Aurobindo Ghosh. And ultimately Aurobindo Ghosh was released because Bipin Chandrapal refused to testify, refused to give statement against Aurobindo Ghosh, right? तो ऐसा करके रहा, ठीक है. उसके बाद बुक्स कहती हैं कि आफ्टर दिस Aurobindo retired from active politics, बट वैसा है नहीं. वो दिखाती तो ऐसी एज इफ Aurobindo डर गए, बट इसके बाद Aurobindo again started a publication, again started writing very anti-British articles, but he also observed that Britishers were cracking down upon Lala Lajpat Rai, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, and now the Britishers, they were about to arrest him. So therefore then he escaped to Pondicherry, and there he became spiritual. Actually he was becoming spiritual even before this Surat split, etc., in his autobiography and otherwise also it is well documented that he was a great meditator, right, a great philosopher, a great spiritual person, and he had that Brahman experience, right, of where you feel that you have met the God, right? तो वो उनको parallelly हो रहा था वैसा. So therefore at this particular point of time he went to Pondicherry and he left the active politics. However, people used to go and meet him for guidance. Pondicherry, because it was under France, so therefore he wanted safety from that arrest, राइट, तो ऐसा करके रहा. सो राइट ऑन. Aurobindo was defended by C.R. Das. Aurobindo was defended by C.R. Das. And was acquitted. And was acquitted. As B.C. Pal did not testify. As B.C. Pal did not testify. Was acquitted as B.C. Pal did not testify. B.C. Pal did not testify. B.C. Pal did not testify. Full stop. He later shifted to Pondicherry. He later shifted to Pondicherry to pursue spiritualism. He later shifted to Pondicherry to pursue, P-U-R-S-U-E, to pursue spiritualism. Therefore retired from active politics. Therefore retired from active politics. Therefore retired from active politics. Next point. Tilak in Kesari. Tilak in Kesari. Tilak in Kesari. In brackets star लगा के. Kesari was Marathi. And Maratha. Obviously, it is for the Britishers to understand that we are talking about Maratha voice. So that's why naturally Maratha is English. This is Maratha, right? So if you will not get confused if you follow common sense that why the spelling of Maratha is Maratha. It is actually Maratha. But so the Britishers, they can understand that this is a newspaper which is going to talk about the issues of Marathas. So therefore you have to speak in their language, you have to write in their terms, right? So it is Maratha. So it has to be in English. So Kesari was Marathi, whereas your Maratha was in English. So therefore ऐसा समझ के पढ़ेंगे ना, अगर हम छोटे छोटे वाइस पे भी ध्यान रख के चलेंगे तो हमारा रोट लर्निंग का बर्डन खत्म हो जाएगा. बाकी कोचिंग इंस्टीट्यूट से पूछना कभी कि यार मैं कंफ्यूज हूं कि केसरी कौन सा था, वो उन्होंने रट्टा मारा हुआ है. केसरी जो हमने खुद मारा था क्योंकि तो बाद में दिमाग चला, ये तो पढ़ाते पढ़ाते दिमाग चला है कि ऐसा क्यों है. कि कुछ सवाल हम डिस्पाइट गेटिंग सिलेक्ट, हम भी तो रेस में ही रहते ना, तो सारे तो नहीं बट छोटे छोटे टाइम मिला आप जैसा, तो हर चीज छोटी छोटी चीज के बारे में और सोचा. तो ये देखो, ये तो कॉमन सेंस लग रहा है यार. मैप में भी अंग्रेजों का मैप है, वहां पे लिखे मराठा कॉन्फेडरेसी, राइट. फिर तो इससे लिंक बन गया कि अच्छा ये इंग्लिश है, वो इंग्लिश ही होगा, फिर ऐसा याद करने में आसानी है ना. तो मराठा ऐसा. तिलक इन केसरी condemned violence. Tilak in Kesari condemned violence, but still defended Chaki and Bose. Professor Chaki and Khudiram Bose, on grounds that British oppression would ultimately lead to violence. On grounds that British oppression would ultimately lead to violence. British oppression would ultimately lead to violence. आर्टिकल का नाम था, ब्रैकेट्स में स्टार लगाए आप लिख सकते हैं या बिना स्टार लगाए, अराइवल ऑफ बॉम्ब. Obviously it will be in Marathi. Arrival of bomb. This was the article, arrival of bomb. He was charged with sedition. And imprisoned for 6 years. He was charged with sedition and imprisoned for 6 years. In Mandalay, Burma. Full stop. Jinnah defended him in court. Jinnah defended him in court. Jinnah was a moderate at that point of time. Jinnah did not want setting up of Muslim League also. Later on, he changed colors. Jinnah defended him in court. Full stop. B.C. Pal temporarily retired from active politics. B.C. Pal temporarily retired from active politics. And L.L. Rai forced to go abroad. And L.L. Rai forced to go abroad. L.L. Rai forced to go abroad. Forced to go abroad. Right? तो ये पैरेलल चल रहा है एक्चुअली, रिप्रेशन ऑफ एक्सट्रीमिस्ट एंड रिप्रेशन ऑफ रेवोल्यूशनरीज, इट इज गोइंग ऑन साइड बाय साइड. ठीक. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, रिजल्ट इज इक्वल टू repressed by British, result is equal to repressed by British, but gave back pride of manhood. Repressed by British, but gave back pride of manhood. And many felt, repressed by British, but gave back pride of manhood. And many felt that Morley Minto reforms 1909, many felt that Morley Minto 0510, Morley Minto 0510 reforms 1909 were result of revolutionary activities. Were result of revolutionary activities. Next point, in 1911, partition was annulled. In 1911, partition was annulled. But Curzon 9905 ultimately won. Partition was annulled. But Curzon 9905 ultimately won. As importance of Bengal in INM decreased. With shifting of capital from Calcutta to Delhi. But Curzon 9905 ultimately won, as importance of Bengal in INM decreased, with shifting of capital from Calcutta to Delhi, in 1911. Next point, Delhi conspiracy case. 1912. Delhi conspiracy case 1912. तो अभी मिंटो के बाद 0510 वाइसरॉय हार्डिंगे आ गए. हार्डिंगे, HARDINGE, हार्डिंगे 1016, right, 1910 to 1916. So celebration was going on for shifting of capital from Calcutta to Delhi. Procession was going on. किसी ने suggestion दिया वाइसरॉय हार्डिंगे को कि we should do something big procession. You know, such a big important event is there. It is the same Delhi where Corona took place to Queen. मतलब she got coronated. ठीक है, she got coronated, right? So anyways, something big should be done. So therefore, and you should follow the Indian tradition. You know, Indian people, they love you, right? So therefore, okay. So now Viceroy Hardinge was made to sit on an elephant, right? And procession is going on. He's feeling like a he's feeling like a king. He's feeling like a badshah. Procession is going on, and procession is going on through Chandni Chowk. ठीक है, चांदनी चौक. अब आपने गंगूबाई वगैरह अगर देखी हो, ठीक है, गंगूबाई या फिर कोई और, तो चांदनी चौक बड़ी सकनी गलियां. चांदनी चौक इज वेरी कंजेस्टेड, राइट? सो देयरफॉर इफ समवन इज ट्रैवलिंग ऑन अ हाथी, एलिफेंट, राइट, सो मतलब वो एंड इफ आई एम देयर ऑन द बालकनी, राइट, दिस पर्सन विल बी राइट नेक्स्ट टू मी, राइट, ऐसा जा रहा है. ठीक है, अब वो बालकनी में ना हार्डिंगे इज ऑन एलिफेंट एंड राश बिहारी बोस, नॉट घोष तो मॉडरेट था, राश बिहारी बोस वॉज इन द बालकनी विल बम. and he threw the bomb. Right? The driver of the हाथी, ठीक है, क्या महौत बोलते, महावत, he got killed. And Viceroy Hardinge stated later that I felt कि किसी ने मेरी कमर जला दी ऊपर से नीचे गंदे तरीके से, that someone has burnt my back. For many months he stayed in hospital, but unluckily he survived. Unluckily he survived, but no one could catch a Bose. So Rash Bihari Bose was not caught. He could not be captured. Right? This came to be known as Delhi conspiracy case. This came to be known as Delhi conspiracy case. Right? So write down. Bomb attack on Hardinge 1016. Bomb attack on Hardinge 1016. Bomb attack on Hardinge 1016. During a procession. Bomb attack on Hardinge 1016 during a procession to celebrate shift of capital to Delhi. During a procession to celebrate shift of capital to Delhi. Dash in Chandni Chowk. In Chandni Chowk. In Chandni Chowk. Dash. Hardinge was on elephant. Hardinge was on elephant. And Rash Bihari Bose. And Rash Bihari Bose in balcony. Hardinge was on elephant and Rash Bihari Bose in balcony. Rash Bihari Bose threw bomb from balcony. And Rash Bihari Bose threw bomb from balcony. From balcony. Full stop. Hardinge survived but stayed in hospital for months. Hardinge 1016 survived but stayed in hospital for months. But stayed in hospital for months. Full stop. नेक्स्ट लिखिए आप, इंपैक्ट ऑफ स्वदेशी मूवमेंट. फालतू सवाल पूछ रहे हो, क्या पूछ रहे हो? हॉस्पिटल में था तो रिप्लेस क्यों नहीं किया, मतलब पोस्ट से क्यों नहीं हटाया? अरे वो फाइल आ जाती है यार वहां पे, है? तो तुम्हारे जैसे लोग तो कहते हैं, मतलब तुम्हारे जैसे लोग ठीक नहीं होते हैं. चीफ मिनिस्टर, प्राइम मिनिस्टर 2 दिन के लिए अस्पताल के चले जाएं, तुम तो कहते सत्ता के देखने लगते हो कि अब मौका आ गया है, हटाया क्यों नहीं? Impact of overall impact of Swadeshi movement. Overall impact of Swadeshi movement. Overall impact of Swadeshi movement. 4-5 लाइन लिखनी बस. Overall impact of Swadeshi movement. यूपीएससी ने लास्ट ईयर क्वेश्चन पूछ लिया. कैसे? यूपीएससी ने पूछा ओवरऑल इंपैक्ट ऑफ कर्जोनियन पॉलिसी, विच इज नथिंग बट सेम एज ओवरऑल इंपैक्ट ऑफ स्वदेशी मूवमेंट, बिकॉज स्वदेशी मूवमेंट वॉज अ प्रोडक्ट ऑफ कर्जोनियन पॉलिसी, है ना? तो ओवरऑल इंपैक्ट ऑफ स्वदेशी मूवमेंट स्लैश कर्जोनियन पॉलिसीज, स्लैश कर्जोनियन पॉलिसीज. देखो पॉइंट बड़े सिंपल है. मेथड ऑफ द आईएनएम चेंज परमानेंटली. अब मॉडरेट वॉडरेट सबको बोरिंग लगेगा, ठीक है? नो वन इज गोइंग टू. यस, आईएनसी स्टेट अंडर मॉडरेट्स, बट आईएनएम इज नाउ नॉट अंडर मॉडरेट्स. ठीक, इतना नेशनलिज्म पहली बार हम देख रहे हैं, दैट ऑल ऑफ दीज थिंग्स आर टेकिंग प्लेस, राइट? सो राइज ऑफ नेशनलिज्म दैट नेवर केम डाउन. ठीक, दिस काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो. राइट ऑन, राइज ऑफ नेशनलिज्म दैट नेवर केम डाउन. Rise of nationalism that never came down. Next, laid foundation of mass politics. Laid foundation of mass politics. Plus working class movement. Plus working class movement. Lays foundation of mass politics plus working class movement. Plus revolutionary activities. लेट फाउंडेशंस ऑफ मास पॉलिटिक्स, है ना, 1905 to 1908. लेट फाउंडेशन ऑफ वर्किंग क्लास मूवमेंट, बिकॉज वर्कर्स ऑल्सो पार्टिसिपेटेड इन स्ट्राइक्स फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम, है ना. फॉरेन ओन्ड एंटरप्राइजेस, लेट फाउंडेशन ऑफ वर्किंग क्लास मूवमेंट, प्लस लेट फाउंडेशन ऑफ रेवोल्यूशनरी एक्टिविटी 1908 to 1911 या 1907 to 1911. तो बहुत सारी चीजें पहली बार होनी है यहां पे, इसलिए ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. नेक्स्ट, पीपल बिकेम अवेयर about economic aspects. People became aware about economic aspects of British rule. And boycott became major tool of future INM. ऐसा सेंटेंस लिखाऊंगा, पागल हो जाओ पागल. ब्राइट में स्टार लगा के लिखिए. इसका मीनिंग क्या है? समझ के पढ़िए, समझ के. ठीक है, मीनिंग क्या है? अगर मैं आपको यह कहूं दैट मॉडरेट्स गेव ड्रेन थियरी फॉर द एजुकेटेड पीपल, एक्सट्रीमिस्ट एक्सप्लेन्ड दैट ड्रेन थियरी टू द कॉमन मैन by promoting स्वदेशी and by promoting boycott of British goods. जब आप कॉमन मैन को बोलेंगे कि you have to boycott British goods, he will ask, sir why? जब आप कॉमन मैन को बोलेंगे buy स्वदेशी goods, he will say, sir, you are a person of my favor or you are my enemy? You are telling me I should buy a soap not at 1 rupee but at 2 rupee because that is made by this Indian person. तू मेरा नुकसान चाहते, मेरा फायदा चाहता है. मैं वैसे ही गरीब हूं, तू कह रहा है कि नहीं महंगी चीज खरीद. यू आर आस्किंग मी टू बाय समथिंग विच इज मोर एक्सपेंसिव. पूछेगा ना वो सवाल, तो एक्सट्रीमिस्ट विल एक्सप्लेन टू हिम. व्हाट ही विल एक्सप्लेन? ही विल एक्सप्लेन ड्रेन. कि जब तू ब्रिटिश सरकार सामान खरीदता है, ब्रिटिश सरकार का सामान खरीदता है, ब्रिटिश इंपोर्टेड गुड्स, व्हेन यू बाय, ड्रेन ऑफ वेल्थ इज टेकिंग प्लेस फ्रॉम योर पॉकेट टू लंडन, है ना. तो ड्रेन समझाएगा ना वो, वाई टू नॉट बाय द ब्रिटिश गुड्स. सो ये आम आदमी को ड्रेन कौन समझा रहा है? दैट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ कॉमन मैन बिकमिंग अवेयर अबाउट इकोनॉमिक एस्पेक्ट्स ऑफ ब्रिटिश रूल. सो ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा लिखिए, कॉमन मैन वुड अंडरस्टैंड drain. Common man would understand drain because will ask why boycott? Why buy more expensive Swadeshi? And extremists will explain. Common man would understand drain because will ask. किसने मारी छींक? बहुत बढ़िया. छींक हमेशा खुल के मारनी चाहिए, है. मुझे बड़ी हंसी आती है वो छींकते से. क्या छींक है? जिनमें छींक इतना आनंदमयी एक्सपीरियंस होता है, छींक तो अच्छे से लो, है. कोरोना वैसे ही फैल रहा है, क्या हो गया? छींक तो अच्छे से लो, कुछ क्या? ये मॉडरेट ही हो सकते हैं, ये एक्सट्रीमिस्ट टाइप का आदमी है. नेक्स्ट लिखिए, नेशनलिस्टिक सिंबल्स. नेक्स्ट पॉजिटिव, मतलब नेक्स्ट है ओवरऑल इंपैक्ट में. नेशनलिस्टिक सिंबल्स became prominent. अभी तक हमने ऐसी बात ही नहीं करी जो हम पहली बार बात कर रहे हैं. वंदे मातरम, है ना, नेशनलिस्टिक सिंबल. became prominent. Example, वंदे मातरम became anthem of INM. Nationalistic symbols became prominent. Example, वंदे मातरम became anthem of INM. वंदे मातरम became anthem of INM. प्लस टैगोर्स माने RBT, रविन्द्रनाथ टैगोर. बाप DBT, देवेंद्रनाथ टैगोर. दादा द्वारकानाथ टैगोर, द्वारका देव रविंद्र, है ना. टैगोर, टैगोर, टैगोर्स अमार सोनार बांग्ला, टैगोर्स अमार मेरा प्यारा बंगाल, अमार सोनार बांग्ला, अमार सोनार बांग्ला later became national anthem of Bangladesh, later became national anthem of Bangladesh. क्या वो अमार सोनार बांग्ला इस टाइम दिया था इन्होंने, बाद में बांग्लादेश की नेशनल एंथम बनी. लेटर बिकेम नेशनल एंथम ऑफ बांग्लादेश. नेक्स्ट 2 पॉइंट रहेगा बस. मेथड ऑफ पीआर, मेथड ऑफ पीआर with NC and CD and CW. Method of PR, PR, passive resistance. Method of PR with NC, non-cooperation, and CD, civil disobedience, and CW, plus use of plays, plus use of plays, plus Prabhat fairies, use of plays plus Prabhat fairies. Therefore, new methods were developed. Therefore, new methods were developed. New methods were developed. Last line. We permanently moved away. We permanently moved away. We permanently moved away from Bhikmangi, from petitions. We permanently moved away from petitions to mass action. We permanently moved away from petitions to mass actions. To mass actions. Mass action. And shift, and there was shift in leadership of INM. And there was shift in leadership of INM. And there was shift in leadership of INM away from moderates. Away from moderates. However, away from moderates. However, there was formal beginning. There was formal beginning of communal politics. There was formal beginning of communal politics with birth of ML 1906. However, there was formal beginning of communal politics with birth of Muslim League 1906, ML 1906. ML 1906. In next class, we will discuss Muslim League and Muslim politics. Aditi is asking, how did the secret societies abroad help the revolutionaries? Well, they can gather funds, they can send funds to India, they can also do propaganda in the magazines, etc. Plus, if you are wanted in India, you can travel abroad and escape arrest.